Hey.
Hey,
Hey, what's up?
nothing much, nothing much. Just fresh out the shower, from the gym and stuff. You know how that goes.
That was kind of weird how that happened for us at like the same time.
I know, that's so weird. But yeah. So how was your day today?
Pretty productive. I actually tried to keep my phone away. You know what was really sad is I actually watched that one video that you sent me yesterday.
Yeah, the millennial question one.
Yeah, I watched it twice. The first time I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to it while I work, and then the second time I was like, oh shit, I should really think about this. Like, what's happening here? Because I've been trying to be a little bit more cautious with or well, not cautious, but like look at my phone less,
Yeah. You're
so that
trying to
it's
be
just
more
not.
like mindful of how much you use it.
Yeah, I have all my notifications and stuff off. I check my phone when I check my phone. Otherwise, I would always be like meh, meh, like checking it.
Yeah,
How's
yeah. I
your
see.
day?
Oh, my day was pretty productive as well. Took my mom to the airport. Did some grocery shopping. Went to the gym. Whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, it was pretty productive. I checked out the videos. I think it was the ideas of Socrates, maybe.
Oh, hey, was that the Academy of Ideas one?
Yeah. That,
Yeah.
that was that one. Yeah, and it was great. And then I went to. I always slaughter his name, so I can't say it right. But the philosopher, his name is like Soren Kierkegaard or something.
Kierkegaard? Kierkegaard?
Kierkegaard. There we go. Yeah. I know, yeah, I always slaughter his name because I
Yeah.
see all the symbols above, like the O's and stuff, and I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Let me just guess. So yeah, but I love his point of view towards things. So I watch those too, and yeah, I love those videos. Thank you for showing me that channel.
Yeah, me too. That guy, what's his name? I can't say his name. Something.
Simon Sinek.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome too. Yeah, so tell me what you thought about that video, and what did you think about like the overall points that he made.
Just give me one sec. I'm so sorry. I'm just like putting this on Instagram.
Oh, it's not
So rude. I'm sorry.
no. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay, so the thing that I picked up the most from it, or the thing that I felt like really strongly was I need to use my phone less. Do you see how that was so rude that I just like picked up my phone while I was in the
No.
middle of
I mean,
talking to you?
again, like I understand people have things to do, so like I really don't
Dude, you're
care.
just really nice.
Nah, I really don't care, unless like if we were out somewhere and I was like talking to you like about some serious, and you was like, hold on, let me go check my messages real quick while you're in the middle of talking to me. Then that would be rude or something. But
Yeah,
like this is different, so it's not that big. We're just hanging out, in a Google
chill.
Hangout. So yeah, it's chilling like a villain.
Yeah. So another thing that really stuck out to me during that video was that he was talking about how if you walk into a room and you have your cell phone with you and you put that cell phone either face up or face down, because it isn't put away, you give the message subconsciously that the people around you aren't really that important.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because before that video, I didn't really think about it that way. Like I like for instance, if I'm in a relationship or something, I always just leave my phone up so she doesn't think I'm trying to hide anything, and then I'll leave the room or something, and
Mm.
that's how I always did it. But now that I think of it, whenever I did see those notifications flashing or something, it was like I just had to like check it. You just have that feeling of checking it, like I need to check to see what this is.
Yeah,
So
and he talks about how it's like an unfettered dopamine production. Like it just revs your dopamine up so much.
yeah,
And
and
people
I
are constantly going to that for the hit of dopamine instead of actually forming deep, meaningful connections because people don't actually talk to each other these days, which
yeah,
also
like
stuck out to
this.
me. Yeah, for real. Like what yesterday was the first time that we ever spoke on the phone, and we ended up talking for like 2 hours, and that was the most lit conversation ever. It was so lively. I
Yeah,
don't think
and
we
that's
stopped.
rare. What I mean? Like whenever you do meet people, it's usually like small talk, like kind of like how he was saying in that video. Like, how was your day? Fine.
Mhm.
How was your life doing? Fine. Do you
How's your
need
girlfriend?
anything?
Fine.
You're fine. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It's just like
uh,
it's so monotone and so dead. Like there's no like, I guess, deep conversation going on. There's no expansion of ideas and learning something new, and really going into your day and being honest about like how your day is, because some people have crappy days, but they feel as if like it doesn't really matter to them, so, or it
yeah.
doesn't matter to other people, so why should I share it? But little do they know, if you have those social interactions with people where you could be more open, it's very good to share that type of stuff. It's very cathartic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But like all the stuff that he talked about, so he talked about like not only failed parenting strategies, he talked about like the role of technology and like that instant gratification thing that we talked about yesterday.
Hmm.
So what happens is with the technology, remember I told you yesterday I was talking to you and I said people who use Facebook more often are more likely to be depressed than people who use it less,
Hmm.
obviously. And like he was talking about how everybody just puts a filter on their life and everything
Yes.
looks so perfect. And that's the only thing. Everybody's just putting out the best sides of their lives, right? And overall, that's not a healthy thing because we all think that there's this like, you get the idea in your head that your life isn't happy because you're, I don't know, it's really crazy. It's just having a negative effect in that sense. It is a good thing too. I mean, I do like social media, but like,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, like, when people put filters on their life or only uh, take snaps of the good parts of their life, and other people get on and they compare themselves to these people, be it like their friends or influencers, that leaves a negative effect on that person. And that
mm,
is the reason why I think a lot of people are depressed, because they're falling in love with a very incomplete version of other people's lives.
totally.
So it's just not a healthy thing to pay so much attention to all of that. And yeah, and that's why I like that he touched on those situations, or he touched on that subject. But did you ever check out, because there was like a video on the side recommended that I actually just checked out today, but he like expands on that whole video in like 8 minutes,
No,
I think.
you know what else I did watch after that? I watched another one where he actually talks about how cell phones are ruining relationships, like generally,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me about that one, because I may have seen that one, but I'm not sure.
So one of the things that he did mention, he mentioned in the video that you sent me as well, was that if you actually have your phone out and you're with a group of people, you're signaling to them that they're not that important because that phone is there for you to like reach, right? If you need to. And he recommended that the only way to really get away from the phone is to put it away for a while. You have to put it away from you. He said it shouldn't be charging near your bed or on your bed. It should be charging in another room. Like you shouldn't be so attached to your cell phone. But I mean,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
made me think about myself because I'm like, shit, my cell phone charges right by my head at nighttime. It's on
I
my
just I
pillow.
just moved my phone just right now. It was on my bed. I just placed it to the
Yeah, right.
side.
We
I
don't
was
even
like,
think
oh,
about
when
it.
I
We're
do
just
that.
like so addicted to it. We check it. There was a study done. I think that the statistic is that a person checks their phone on average like 150 times a day.
Oh, I believe it.
How many like minutes is that? Because 24 hours is not enough time in a day.
No, yeah, yeah. We need to
Like there's so
live
much shit
on
to do all
another
the
planet in
time.
the solar system that spins a lot slower or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think. I mean, I was out the other day actually, and I remember these two girls. They sat down at this frozen yogurt place, and
Hmm.
they started talking with one another, but they were like talking about someone in particular. And then they both like took out their phones and they were just looking down. And then every now and then they would like pop their head up and like say something, like it wasn't any more than like two sentences or something. And
Hmm.
then they would go right back to their phone, and there would be long pauses, like silence. And I was just like, what? Like, what is
They're
going
just,
on here?
isn't that such a waste of time? Like, I mean,
It
if you're going to
is.
see somebody, don't you want to see them?
Yeah, or don't you just want to talk about like something? Like, like I would I really don't like, gossiping about celebrities and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I
However,
agree.
I would much rather see people do that than to go out with one another and then
Have
just
their
sit
phones
there on
out.
their phone. Yeah, and it's just like, why? Like, this is very weird. But yeah,
And you
it's
know what else is
strange.
weird? If you go to a concert, if you go to any huge event like that, people are not even paying attention to the concert. They're looking at it through their phone.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that
It's
is so crazy you said that. Yeah, like you look to the right and then you see people looking at other people look at the concert. And it's like,
yes.
you're right there, like you're there to experience it. Like I understand people want to record it so they could like play it or they could share it or whatever. But some people, they'll do that and then they'll search up other people who are doing that and then talk to people while they're at the concert still, and not really
Yeah.
just absorbing everything, and they're just not having fun. It's just like, put your phone away or something and have fun. You paid all this money for these tickets, like have fun.
I don't understand it, really.
Yeah, yeah, me
It is an
neither.
addiction, though. It's pretty bad. We don't really think about how much we look at how much time we squander just looking at our phone.
uh,
I mean,
I,
I'm guilty myself, you know
oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
we all are. I think our whole generation is in, and then this next generation that's coming up. Oh my gosh, like they're going to be even worse, I think.
Yeah, and
um
they're growing up with
yeah.
like super low self-esteem. Did you hear that part?
Yeah, yeah, and it's true because like when you look on social media or anywhere, you always hear about people being depressed, and you see the memes too,
Hmm.
like trying to make fun of the situation of being depressed and having anxiety and all this other stuff. And I know that's a very serious subject because it's very real, no matter how some people like to say that it's not.
Hmm.
However, I think a lot of that is brought up on because people compare themselves to other people, and there's so much on social media. They make these irrational comparisons in their head, and I don't know. It just
Based on something that's not real.
yeah,
Based on
not
an
only is something
incomplete
not real,
picture.
but just yeah, just incomplete. Is not real and it's superficial. Like you shouldn't compare yourself to someone who's older than you, for instance, that is a celebrity. Like, why are these people comparing themselves to celebrities when they're not like there? Like, I would understand if you were on a team, right, and you looked at a certain player and you're like,
Hmm.
hey, I want to shoot like that person, or I want to, run like that person, and then you could go and ask them, be social,
Hmm.
and find out ways to become a better player. I can understand you comparing yourself in that type of way. But when people are comparing themselves to people who are living total opposite lives and they have total opposite passions and all this other stuff, it just brings a lot of problems that need to be addressed and needs to be fixed. I mean, what do you think is a solution for that, though? Do you think it's like parenting? Do you think it's
Parenting discipline. I mean, for adults who are addicted to Facebook, which seems to be the problem, it's they have to discipline themselves. People need to not be consumed by social media all day. It gives you a really warped sense of yourself too, I think.
yeah, yeah. And then, people start believing this image that they have, of themselves, which is not good. I mean, I
Weird.
have like friends who do that. Like, they portray themselves like having no heart and no feelings. But in person, like I know them, they're super sensitive, super
Hmm.
nice. They'll give you the shirt off their back, but on social
Hmm.
media, they're this heartless, crazy person. It seems like if I didn't know this person, like I would think I would be like, oh, I'll never be friends with someone like that. But since I know them, I
That's
know
so
what they
strange.
are. Yeah, it's very strange, and I really don't get that. And it's hard to like approach someone like that. Like, how would you go about approaching someone like that?
I don't know if I would approach someone like that.
Yeah, see, and that's the hard part there because as a friend, you kind of want to address it because you see that they're kind of living two lives in a way, but then again, you don't want to hurt their
Yeah, like
feelings
I don't.
and
Oh, if I was already in a situation where that was something I had to deal with, I really wouldn't know how to bring that up because, like, I don't think that's something that obviously there's like a missing awareness there or something.
yeah, yeah, it's just a very difficult situation to be in, but I try not to pay too much attention to other people and their split personalities.
Or just in general, right? You have to like do your own thing a little bit. You have to be
Yeah,
like a
exactly. Yeah, you have to like kind of be in your own world and um, do the things that make you happy and um, yeah, bring joy to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, you know what else is really crazy that he talked about? I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep coming to this video because I actually
Oh
did
no,
watch
no,
it
no.
twice and I
It's
was like,
cool. I love the
I
video.
felt
So
so motivated after. I was like, man, he told me I was gonna be motivated. I feel so pumped right now.
that's awesome.
um,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was so good. So he was talking about how like part of the whole instant gratification thing and the whole technology thing, where like there's no social obstacles that people have to cross anymore. Like dating has become as simple as swipe left or swipe right, and you get that dopamine hit, and you also totally deny yourself the opportunity to learn how to maneuver socially with people and like get over your awkward phases and like actually learn how to talk to people if you're interested in them. So like it takes practice to be able to talk to people if you want something from them, or if you want to spend time with them or whatever. Like you have to learn how to do these things. You have to go through awkward shit. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all the difficult stuff is being avoided, right? So I feel like it's really just screwing up and entirely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Whenever I look at this stuff, it like gives me all of these emotions. It's like it makes me kind of like just so it's just sad, and I'm not gonna say depressed, but I just feel like overwhelmed by sadness because
Mhm.
you know people could be better, and you know that the situation could be better, but people again, like, I'm going to keep going to the Gary Vaynerchuk video that I did. I send you that one, by the way.
Uh, I don't know right now. I'm
Uh,
checking.
the be yourself one or
No,
knowing yourself. Oh dang, I thought I did,
that's
but
okay. That's okay.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have
Homework
to
for
send you
next
to.
time.
I know, right? I
Yeah.
know. Yeah, but he was just going in about you just need to understand yourself. Like
Mhm.
if he were to inject anything into people, it would just be people being comfortable and knowing themselves, and I think that would dispel a lot of the problems that are happening. And yeah, but I just love when people like truly are comfortable with themselves, and like for instance, like you seem very comfortable with yourself on social media, and I like surrounding myself with people like that. So yeah, I think that's good that like you're doing stuff like this, and I'm sure you're going to be super big doing
Oh my
doing this with
god.
all the big YouTubers and stuff, going to the YouTube conferences and
Oh,
stuff. I'm
you're
just
so
like,
awesome. Aw,
hey. But
man.
yeah,
I don't know. I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, I don't know what it is about me, but like I'd rather be like hated for just being myself than be like liked for not being myself. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, 100%.
I totally, and like that's why I'm not too worried about any kind of. He was talking about how people get so excited when they gain new followers, and they get really upset when they lose followers. Like that, I don't want that to be a part of my focus at all. You know what I mean? I feel like that could affect the way that I look at it, because for me, it's just like I just want to have conversations.
Yeah, yeah, conversations, they're the best. I mean, that's how we learn. That's how we get past problems. That's how we get to see different perspectives. Because there are many times where I talk to people where I thought I wouldn't learn a thing from, but I come out of the conversation, I'm like, wow, I didn't look at it from this perspective, and now I, you know, I just learned something new, and this has helped me, and it's just great. That's why I'm not afraid to have conversations with like white nationalists or um, black nationalists or theists or atheists or whatever like your
Yeah.
beliefs are. Like I'm not afraid to have these conversations because I think most people they do have a good point when it comes to something. Like you might disagree with them on 98% of things, but
Yeah.
there could be something that they do have a good point about, and it would reevaluate everything that you're thinking about. So yeah, I think that's I think conversations need to happen more. I mean, but how do you think that we should like inspire people to, um, converse more?
Well, I mean, I've just been asking people. I asked you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you just got to take the leap, right? I was like,
yeah.
I asked my friend Brian. I'm like, anybody who's willing to talk to me, let's have a conversation. Let's just chill out. Like, why not? Why not broadcast it? It could be good. Someone might want to listen to it. Who knows, right? You never know. It's just a fun thing to do anyways. And I just have like this weird nervousness that I'm also just trying to like expose myself to the anxiety a little bit at a time so that I can get over it too. Because I don't understand why it would be uncomfortable in any way. I mean, like, no one can see me. It's weird.
And I mean, you sound like a natural when you're doing it. So like this, like I think maybe after you get through those first nerves, and I think whenever we love something or care about something, like, we get nervous. I think that's a
Yeah.
natural feeling that we have. So that's totally fine. But I think what really matters is how we perform once we do it. And I think you perform really well, and you should keep doing it, and you'll get better and better. And like I said, you're gonna be at those YouTube conferences and stuff. And
Oh my God. You know what though too? Like I have friends around me like the five of you great people that I'm talking to are people I can actually talk to. And that's another reason I've been like trying to talk my friends into talking with me because I'm like, I don't know, like the conversations we have are really enjoyable. Like I can actually talk to you guys. Like it's just natural, right? Like yesterday
yeah,
I called you, the first thing I started doing was like expounding on my day. And then like an hour and a half later it was like, "Hey, so how was your day?" And you were like, "Oh, good." Oh my god, so funny.
oh
Typical girl versus boy. Like oh my gosh.
I almost did the thing that Simon was talking about, like fine,
Yeah,
like
fine.
yeah, fine, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I need to watch that video a little bit more, so I stopped doing that. But no, and the thing is, like, what I liked about how you started talking about your day and stuff, you actually went into detail about it, and you were really like into it, and it wasn't just like, oh, I hate these people, that's it, blah blah blah.
yeah,
Oh, and I came home, that's it. Like
yeah, yeah.
it was like you went into detail about it, and again, a lot of people don't know how to do that. And that's why I think it comes down to a lot of people just don't know how to have a intelligent conversation about anything,
No, it
and
seems like
it's
it.
sad.
Is it uncomfortableness too? Do people not like? It seems like people just don't like really talking about their feelings in the raw. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't often find that I'm around people who I just want to be like, "Hey, so this is what happened today." Like, it just happens. Those are the best
Yeah,
ones, right? That start like that, where you're just like, "Oh, hey, I feel like I've known you forever. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you about my day now."
yeah, and those are perfect. I think
Right?
more people need to experience that. I think that the more you experience stuff like that, the I think the better of a person you would turn out to be,
Hmm.
and yeah, the better you're going to be at conversing with people.
Yeah, you gotta practice. You gotta do
Yeah,
it, right?
practice
You're
makes
not gonna
perfect.
get better. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. People don't have time these days. Um, I don't know. I don't think people are too inclined to have long form conversation. Like this idea to me started becoming really apparent that it was important with the Joe Rogan Experience. You've heard of that podcast, right? You know who Joe Rogan is.
yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I love
Okay,
Joe Rogan.
so his podcast is like typically 3 hours long, and it's just a free form, everybody's hanging out kind of conversation, kind of like Opie and Anthony, right?
Mhm.
And I like that form because you can actually pick up on the way someone thinks. Like you're seeing how they think. It's a good way to work your thoughts out, right? Because
Mhm.
unless you actually think about things, everything isn't necessarily reasoned well, right?
Yeah, and it's less robotic too, because like if you just
Yeah.
have questions ready, and then you're like, asking a question and the person answers it, then you're just going to the next question. It doesn't flow necessarily right. But I mean,
Yeah.
of course, you can have like some questions where, you know, or some topics that you write down so that you can
Hmm.
cover. But yeah, I love the style of Joe Rogan's podcast or radio show because
Yeah.
again, like it goes for like 2 hours, but yet I could sit there and listen to the whole thing without skipping through it like at all.
Yeah, I do that at
And
work.
I love that. Oh, you do that work?
Yeah. It's either
Yeah.
Joe Rogan or Sam Harris lately, Waking Up,
Oh
that I've been
yeah.
listening
Did you
to.
check out Sam Harris with Charles Murray?
Yeah, I just watched that this or listened to that this weekend, and it was really good.
Oh.
And it's really tiring to hear these same stories over and over again where people are just talking about data and they're being called racist and
Oh
bigoted
my
and all that stuff. And it's like all these words are losing their meaning, guys. What are you doing?
gosh.
What are we doing here? What's happening? It's
Exactly.
just like people are so stupid. I can't
Yeah, yeah.
handle it.
It sucks because, like, again, we talk about how conversations are important, but if you're constantly name calling people for simply stating statistics,
Hmm.
that's not a productive way to have a conversation. Like, who wants to talk to a person that calls them a racist or a homophobe or Islamophobe?
Right.
Like, when it's one, it's not warranted, and two, without like having an argument like to back it, you know. And I think Ben Shapiro, he said something very cool about this. Like he said, you know, if someone calls you a bigot, a homophobe, a racist, like they're an evil person, and you
Hmm.
should treat them like as such in a way. Like when you talk to them, that you shouldn't try to reason with them because they're just going to keep doing that, you know. But if you turn it on them, because they're arguing from a moral standpoint and an emotional standpoint too. But if you turn it on them and you do the same thing, then they kind of reevaluate what they're doing. And if they could get back to, you know, arguing points how they're supposed to argue it, then fine, like that's great. But if they're going to keep doing that, then, you know, that conversation is basically over and it just becomes like a name calling match or whatever. But usually I just like to leave out those type of conversations. But like, have you ever or have you recently had any conversations with people where they kind of turn to call you like racist or whatever for having a
Mm,
certain belief or something?
nobody has outwardly called me a racist. I've only had the most recent argument I had, which was kind of I think it was like a month ago now, was someone arguing with me about the point on genders.
Oh,
Gender is a
okay.
social construct. There's more than one gender. I'm like, no, there isn't. There's either one. There's A, B, or in between the two, but there's only two genders. And like people can't handle that shit. It's like, do you guys understand why that is? Has anybody looked into the fact that, pardon me, it depends on the sex
Yeah.
cells that are being produced by the organism? I mean, like if it's a what was it? What's that goddamn word?
The
I forget.
chromosomes.
No, it's like a. It means that there's a male and a female in the species for the purpose of reproduction. I can't remember the word right now, but like there are reasons why things are the way they are, and it's like they don't give a shit about that. Their why is the only one that matters because they have the feels about something that they haven't really even thought about.
Yeah, that not only have they not thought about it, but like the points that they bring up is very like irrational because like just think about it. If you could be anything, like anything at all, then you can be absolutely nothing too. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like when people say if everything has value, like if everything has the same value, then nothing is valuable. So
Mm-hmm.
like I don't understand why people like to bring that up. Like I understand there are people who are intersex, like their sex organs are, you know, either deformed in a certain way or
Mm-hmm.
maybe, you know, they have like breasts and they're men or something, so they
Mm-hmm.
feel different, or you know they're and then also when it comes to like neuroscientists, I mean neuroscience, I was talking to some neuroscientists and they said that, you know, some people like they do tend to think differently, like they can identify a male and a female by certain areas where it lights up, but
Hmm.
some people it gets a little hard to do that.
Crossed over.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So it's a very difficult subject. But yeah, and they say that gender is a social construct versus sex is not. But then they try to. It's funny because once they say gender is a social construct, then they go to sex and they're like, but there are people who are intersex, and I'm like, no, you either produce sperm or you produce eggs. Like that. That's
Hmm.
what it is. That's your biology. And then they go, oh well, there's some people who are a little bit of both, and I'm just like, no, sorry, like that's just not true. However, like if they were, are you willing to like change laws just for that very very small minority of people? I'm talking about like drastically change laws, and that part is what I have an issue with, because I really don't know if that's the answer or not. I mean, of
No, it
course,
isn't.
yeah, and I don't want people to treat people who I think the proper term for it is gender dysphoria. I don't want people to
Hmm.
treat people who are like transgender wrong or bad. But at the same time, like I don't think that we should form laws and stuff based off how people feel or what it, it should make sense in a way.
Hmm.
And that's the problem. I mean, do you see like, uh, I don't know, things like, do you see like people, not people, but like politicians kind of bending to like the
Yeah, they are
transgender
at
issues?
schools. They are at schools. They're pandering wherever they can. I don't think they
Mm.
should. I think it's psychologically unhealthy because, like,
In what ways
you
are they
have to
pandering?
learn. Well, I mean, like, well, the transgender bathroom issue,
Oh
there's
yeah,
some
yeah.
places that are rolling that out, right?
Mm.
From what I understand, I'm not 100% sure. I could be talking out of my butt, but I know it's a big issue, or it has been an issue in the media. I, I've seen it on YouTube and stuff. Um, but there's a huge issue here in Canada happening with pronouns
Mm.
that Jordan Peterson's leading the fight against. And these are
Okay.
things that are just made up. And the thing about stuff like that is you are supposed to adapt your feelings to the environment. The environment is not here to appease you. That's not how this shit works.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very, very true. And then what he has gone through during, Jordan Peterson, what he has gone through during his time at that university, and the students around there that are calling him all these mean words, calling him a bigot and a homophobe, and
Spaceless.
yeah, it's just like why, and I love the way he handles it. He handles it in such a professional way and such a great way. He doesn't stand down because he knows the history of this stuff. Like he knows what happens if you been to these people, not only socially but um, politically, and
Yeah.
you start changing laws for these people. Like this has happened before in many places. So it's and the fact that he could see like how bad it could get, that's what makes him so passionate about speaking out and doing what he does. And you can't do nothing but like you really give props to him, because that takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of guts to put your job on the line like that.
Yeah. And I don't actually, what was the quote? If you don't believe in freedom of speech for the people you don't like, then you don't believe in it at all.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I hate how people equate words to actual violence. Like words are words. They're not physical violence. There are abuse of a kind, but they're not physical abuse.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Can you give an
verbal
example of that?
abuse. Um yeah, so a lot of swearing and stuff like that is
Mm.
considered violent to some, like these feminists and
Oh,
stuff.
oh, like how people call them microaggressions,
Yeah,
basically.
like catcalling is rape. Like the equivalences that they try to draw from the stupidest things. Like I don't understand how they do it. So they're pretty much just ruining the entire English language for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, and they're warping words, and they're ignoring statistics and all this other stuff, and not only that, but they're misrepresenting the side they disagree with, their position.
Yeah.
They misrepresent it totally. Like for instance, when it comes to catcalling. Like, do I think that that's what people should do? No, of course not. I don't think any person should catcall another person. However, if you're going to act like that's rape or something like that, and you're going to be very just dramatic about it and call it rape or call it something that it's not, like, I'm going to call BS on that. And you can't say
Yeah.
that I'm for catcalling just because I call BS on your point. And a lot of people
Yeah.
just don't get that. And it's just people constantly talking past one another, because it's always one
Yeah.
side that has the statistics, they have the evidence to back it up. Then there's the other side that's, again, arguing from emotion and making it about morality. You're a bad person if you don't agree with me, and it's like, no,
Oh yeah.
like, what you're saying is just stupid.
The
And
moral high
that's
ground
what
shit
it
is
is.
like so obnoxious.
Yeah, it is. And
Holier
you
than
see
thou.
that. Yeah, oh my gosh. And you see that with, like, Jordan B. Peterson, when he's like talking and stuff, they're screaming this stuff at him, and they think that they're so holier than thou, but they're in his face, they're screaming, they're
Doesn't that
pointing
make
at
you
him.
wonder about these kids' parents? Like, what the hell did they teach their kids?
Yeah,
How do
or
you
what are
behave like
they even
that? How do you
around?
interact? Like, look at these people who are like, we are against fascism. The anti fascists are totally the fascists.
Um,
They're like going in and protesting. Have you been watching all this stuff that's happening at Berkeley?
Paying close attention because I'm from Pittsburgh, California, which is in the Bay Area, and Berkeley was
Yeah.
like, what, 15, 20 minutes away from me. So,
Oh,
I
wow.
made frequent trips there, and and plus I know some of the history, and because I really want to go there for graduate school possibly. But
Oh, cool.
yeah, like, they used to do free speech marches so that
Yeah.
people could have free speech, and now they're like censoring people who they don't agree with.
Hmm.
Like, this is like totally backwards, and I'm really like shocked about this, and I
Godwin's
really,
law, right? Anybody that they disagree with is a Nazi. Gavin McInnes went to Berkeley. He was a Nazi. Ann Coulter went a couple of days ago. She's a white supremacist, or this person's a white supremacist, or this person's this or that. There's no actual. I don't understand how it's like they're so violent, they don't get in any kind of trouble. Like, what's happening? How are you guys
um
allowing that to happen where like these kids are just like setting the school on fire?
yeah, on fire. And then not only that, but I was looking at Lauren Southern's live stream on Periscope,
Mm.
and she was showing the police officers in a van, like, just like they were scared. But later on, she went up to them and asked them, like, "Why are you guys not, doing more?" And she said one of the police officers looked really mad, and first she thought, he was mad at her, but he ended up saying, "Oh, we have orders, from the
Mm.
higher ups," or something like that. So there are politicians, be it the mayor or whomever, the police chief, they're telling them not to act, not to do anything, not to basically do their jobs. And
Mm.
then not only them, but like the university will say, well, you know, these speakers whom we disagree with, they provide a hostile environment, and so we can't have them speak here. And it's like, that's what the
Mm.
police are for. They're there to protect people from their rights, such as freedom of speech. But where are you? And Ann Coulter was making that point actually today on Fox. Right before I
Mhm.
got in the shower, she was talking about how yeah, like, their job is to protect us from free speech. That's why they're getting paid by taxpayers' money and stuff,
Mhm.
and they're just not doing their job. And you're only seeing this on one side, which is sad. You don't see a whole bunch of Trump supporters showing up to, I don't know, Michael Eric Dyson's lectures, or someone from like the left who, a lot of people disagree with, and throwing stuff and setting stuff on fire and defacing public property and all this other stuff. You only see this only from one side, and it's quite sad. It really
It's
is.
really embarrassing. The news is
Yeah.
like really slanted too because they're not really. I mean, like I find that there are certain YouTube sources that are more useful for news than the actual news is.
100%.
They're painting the wrong people in the right way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
why are they giving that woman who's like the leader of BAM? Why are they giving her any airtime?
I
Like
have no
their
clue.
organization is called By Any Means Necessary.
And
Like
repeat, yeah,
what?
like yeah. What more do you have to say after that? Like like they're and the thing is, this is what makes it difficult. Like they're saying by any means necessary, and that means that if they
That includes
feel
violence.
that they're being aggressed in any type of way, and they believe in the whole
Microaggressions.
microaggressions things. So if they feel like they're being microaggressed, then they go and they macroaggress people by being violent, and that's why I can't stand when people say microaggressions because you're basically making it okay to be the aggressor and macroaggress people in a way
Hmm.
because like anything could be a microaggression. I could say
Yep.
that I don't like the color of your hair, and that could be the microaggression or whatever, or I don't like, I don't know, this show, and they could, in their mind, I could be talking
Is
about
it
it
because there's more
because
people of color in there, huh? Are you
yeah,
racist?
exactly, yeah,
Are you
they face
racist?
you racist. Exactly. Yeah. And it's just like, no, like if you want to know what I really thought about it, ask me. And again, this goes back to the whole Simon Sinek thing about being
Mhm.
social. Like a lot of people don't know how to have a conversation. They just assume things based off like one small soundbite that people make, and they
Mhm.
go with it. Like for instance, Trump will say something, and you'll see all these media outlets say just all the wrong stuff that he absolutely wasn't saying. And trust me, like Trump, like he
Mhm.
says like the most craziest things sometimes. Like I really don't think he thinks before he talks. Like he has a real problem with
No.
that. But the thing is like when he talks about fake news, he has a point because they'll run with a story about something that he did not say at all, and I bet
Mhm.
that's very frustrating to have to deal with. So I understand some of his actions,
The
but
agenda against him is just so obvious. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, clearly mainstream, and that's why a lot of people are going towards alternative media on YouTube or these other sites because they give at least a better side of things. They give a better story, a better side, and a lot of people they don't trust mainstream media. I think the only people who really trust and watch it, consistently are like old people.
Yeah, true story.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
such a
So
pointless place to get news, and a lot of the time they don't even have the full facts of the story. They just start like you know how I used to watch that are just god awful now as the Young Turks. You know they are,
oh
right?
my gosh, yeah. I used to watch them when they
Um,
first started, and then they're just so horrible. I mean, did you see the clip
yeah, it's
where
awful.
they had like this little meeting at this school or something, and
Oh
it
yeah, so about the
was
Armenian genocide.
yeah, there we go, yeah, that one, and that guy that went to the school, like he went to ask a question, and they like shut him down completely, and they wouldn't let him
Hmm.
talk anymore and stuff. Like that was horrible. It was like
How weird is it that the Turkish guy hired an Armenian girl and like he denies the Armenian genocide? You would think that Anna would be pretty offended by that.
yeah, yeah, and see, I learned
Sure.
about that like a lot later. Like I didn't know like much about that. Like of course I knew about the Armenian genocide, but I didn't put two and two together. The Young Turks and then her being
Hmm.
Armenian because I didn't know she was Armenian at first. But yeah, that
Hmm.
that is really weird, and how he like deflects from that subject every now and then, and like just the semantic acrobats that he engages in is very weird, and I think she's very. I think she's going to go her own way one day, kind of like Dave Rubin did. Like, do you
I
think
don't
she?
know about her because she is just she loves Cenk. Did
Oh
you
my god.
see did you see like how they behaved at the Republican National Convention?
Um,
Jimmy Dore spit on Alex Jones.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was that. Okay, I didn't know where that was when that happened, but yeah, I
Yo, these
saw
are
that.
adults.
Like I said, that he's like, yo, these are adults. Yeah, and they're
Yo, like
very old
yeah.
adults too. Like they're not just like just fresh out of college adults. No, they're like midlife crisis adults.
These are old men.
Yes.
The guy spit on Alex
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my
spit. Well, when
goodness.
he was like, wasn't he turned around or something, and then he did it, or
He spit and then walked away like a little
walked
bitch.
away? Yeah,
And
yeah.
Cenk was screaming at him because Alex Jones had made a comment about how Saudi Arabia isn't funding their little jihad. Oh my god. And I was like, get the fuck off the stage, you fat fuck, or whatever. Get off the stage, you fat fuck. And I was like, oh my god, you talk about fat shaming and you're calling Alex Jones a fat
Exactly.
fuck.
Yeah, like
How
where is
rude.
that?
Where are your manners? Like, I was actually quite disgusted with that performance.
Yeah, that
I
whole
am
thing.
not impressed by your performance. Oh my god, George St. Pierre. You know who that is, right?
No, no, no. Who's that?
He is a French Canadian MMA fighter, and he was a champion for quite some time.
Oh wow.
There was I think he was like trying to shit talk someone, and he never does it. He's like the sweetest, most humble MMA fighter, and he was like, "Oh, I know what happened." So his opponent, the next one, there were two people fighting, and the person who won between those two was going to fight GSP, and then the guy who won, GSP went up to him and was like, I am not impressed by your performance." That's
And he has
the
a real
best
thick
French
accent too.
Canadian accent I can do. I'm sorry.
It'd be funny because I imagine that because GSP has a really, really thick accent, so that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Oh
I
my
have to
god.
see that video. If there's a
Oh
video
my
of
god, it's so funny. Oh man. Yeah,
that. That is
adults,
funny.
right? Like back to
Yeah,
adults. I don't know. I don't
I mean when Sync or that's how you say. Is it Chink or Sync?
it's Chank, I
Chink.
think.
Okay, yeah,
Whatever. Yank.
him. Yeah,
Just
yeah.
do.
Wank.
Yeah,
But
totally.
he got so mad when Alex Jones was trolling him. Like this is a thing. Like a lot of people don't understand how to deal with trolls. Like when it comes to trolls, you're not supposed to take them seriously. You're not supposed to try to
No.
have an argument with them. You either troll back or you just don't have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
You because they've already like
But dude, Alex
shown you.
Jones was just being nice to them. He's like, hey, first of
Yeah,
all, somebody from TYT invited him on that stage. He didn't just walk up there. So then
yeah,
he
yeah.
went up there and he's like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. You know, being gregarious. He's being nice
Mhm,
and shit. Like, he wasn't causing any problems. Cenk
mhm.
got super fucking uptight. And
Yeah, you
then,
saw
and
his
then,
face change when Alex
yeah, and he
Jones
got all
walked up there.
sweaty.
Yeah,
And
he
then,
got all
like,
sweaty. He was like, "Oh, what is going on here?"
yeah, that was
Yeah,
so
then he went
funny. And
zero
then
to
that
100
shirt,
real quick.
you remember that rape shirt that Alex Jones pulled out with oh my God, Bill Clinton's face on it?
Yeah, yeah, and then he like pulled it down, and
Yeah, that shit went like south so fast.
yeah, I was
So
like,
fast.
"Whoa!" Like, where did that come from? Like, he was like angry inside or something
No,
prior
they were
to
acting
this.
like children.
Yeah,
TYT, all of them. And then there was a douchebag that was like standing in front of the camera trying to like pull his shirt apart and like cover the camera so you couldn't see what was happening between Alex Jones and Cenk up there.
mhm,
And Jimmy Dore walks up, spits on him, walks off. Like,
yeah,
how
yeah,
rude. That's assault. You can't just spit on someone, you idiot.
yeah. Exactly. That's so cowardly. Like for him to do that, I was really just disgusted by that whole situation and how they handle that. And again, it just exposes them. That's why I'm happy like people bring cameras and all of this to events like this, be it Berkeley or events such as that, because you get to expose the other side. You don't have to argue, you don't have to do it. You'd be like, look, this is what they do, and
Hmm.
the video doesn't lie. I mean, unless of course some people like chop and edit stuff certain ways so it looks a certain way, but if it's raw footage, like you could capture all of this, and you can make a decision from there to support them or not. Like I don't follow Young Turks anymore. Like every now and then, whenever
No.
people talk about a certain video, I may go to that video and listen to like what they said, but it's mostly to like you know not to make fun of them, but just
It's
kind
a
of
hate
just
watch. Come on, you can just admit it.
you said I hate
We all
watch.
have channels we hate watch. I like watching, like, I like people's videos about the TYT. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
I can't handle watching it because as soon as I see Jenk, I just get like, ugh,
you get a
you
gag
know?
response.
Yeah, like he's just such an unpleasant person to to behold, you know?
Yeah, definitely,
Oh,
definitely.
good
He's
gosh.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and again, I love when people are able to like talk about that. Like you see all these YouTubers like picking apart their arguments and they're going about it that way. I love when people do that. You know that
Hmm.
that's the way it's supposed to be done versus just calling people names and trying to stop them from talking places and you know acting like children. You know, and I I just can't stand how some people act.
But they're loud, and for some reason the adults capitulate. That's the other problem. Like the adults are kind of cowardly because
Yeah,
they should be
yeah.
telling the kids to shut up. They should be saying, you know what, like you can't be shutting down something just because you don't like it. Like there are events that students have paid for that have gotten canceled due to the barbaric behavior.
Yeah, yeah, and then that's unfair to all those people who came. Some people travel like
Yeah.
hours and hours
Hmm.
away. You know, I went to a lecture from I forgot who it was. I'm not sure if it was Alan West or maybe a science talk, but it was like 2 hours away, and
Hmm.
I would suck if that was canceled. You know, I would be kind of upset about that, especially if I knew that it was because people didn't like what he would possibly say, and they, of course, assumed that he was going to say something that he wasn't. Yeah,
Hmm.
I would be really mad about that. And like you said, I think the good way of going about it is treating these people how they're treating others, and that's calling them out on their BS. Like I'm not sure. Have you ever seen the video of the professor and at Yale, I think it was, and he was talking to a group of students, and I'm not sure if they were like Black Lives Matter student. No, they probably
Hmm.
weren't. I think they were just a mixture of students, and it was about something. And he was trying to reason with them the best he can, and they were just yelling at him and coming up with all these emotional arguments and cutting him off. But as soon as he like barely cut someone off, that they just start going crazy and like there was just no reasoning with them at all. And they were talking about how they need their safe space and this, that, and the third, and how he doesn't care about students. And what he should have done was like, look, like you're wrong and you're
Hmm.
being a whiny baby right now. And no, like you're misrepresenting my points, and you need to stop doing that. You know, he should have stood up for himself, but instead he was being the gentleman and he was trying to reason with them. He would be quiet most of the time when they would talk, and it didn't get him anywhere. You know, like
You
the whole
can't reason with
video.
unreasonable people.
Exactly, exactly. So, like, how do you? I mean, like, for instance, if you were a professor at a university, how would you deal with it?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I'm gonna have a good answer. The first thing I thought of when you asked that was round him up, send him to a place. I don't know, push him off a cliff or something. I don't know. Because, I mean, I don't know. I I, I mean, therein lies the challenge. How do you make someone sit down and talk to you if their initial reaction to you trying to talk to them is a knee-jerk reaction of calling names and shutting down any discussion possible, claiming oppression, saying that they've been hurt, saying that whoever doesn't like them, like they're saying opinions can cause them bodily harm. Like this is the way that they seem to be behaving. It's so out of proportion to what's happening, to any of the things that are happening here. And I personally don't know how to talk to people like that. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
that
sure
would be
I've
really
been that
hard.
person too, right? I wouldn't know how to deal with myself if I was like really all up in my feels and like all I could do is like sit and react. I mean, over time I'd get over it because I'm not retarded, but
Mhm.
you
Yeah, I
have to think about
mean,
it, right?
oh, go ahead.
You have to like actually actively think about the things that are happening around you. Some people are just like stimulus reaction, stimulus reaction.
Yeah, yeah, constantly. They're arguing from emotion. You know, it's just reaction, reaction, reaction. They're becoming reactionaries. They're not thinking about anything. But um, I don't know. In a way, I think it's. I mean, have you ever, for instance, maybe like used to agree with some of the stuff that they agree with, and then now you don't agree with them? So then now you understand. Um, not their position better, but how to deal with them better because you used to agree with what they agree with, and even their tactics and going about how they deal with it? Like, do you
I don't
often
think I've ever identified with that set of ideas ever. And the reason I
lucky
say
you?
that is, yeah, like a couple of, like when I really, I've always been kind of a science nerd, but I think like 3 or 4 years ago, I really got kicked off into it. And it was all Dawkins. Dawkins started that for me. And like,
Yeah,
since then, I've kind of, if you like adapt a certain way of thinking or looking at things, you start filtering through whatever else you're watching and listening to through that filter, right?
yeah,
And there's some things that just seem pretty whack. I mean, like, there's some things that I have in common with the feminist movement. That is, A, I'm a woman, so I can speak from womanly experience, for one.
mhm,
And two, like, none of the things they say make sense. I mean, I live in the Western world. I can do everything. I can drive. I can have a job. I can go to the store. I have a credit card. Like, I don't understand. I mean, you're gonna get pissed off because some guy's like spreading his legs on a SkyTrain or like on a subway. Like, what the hell is that? What kind of what a stupid waste of space in your brain. Like, we already have a bandwidth issue here, and that's the kind of shit that we're like, oh my god, manspreading. Oh my god, don't mansplain. Okay, well, I mean, if you come up with a female equivalent of that, then you're sexist. But it's totally not sexist if you just want to shit talk men all the time. And like
exactly.
men are starting to decline in universities. Women are
Mhm.
starting to dominate universities. But you know
Oh
what?
yeah,
Guess what they're doing? They're doing like gender studies. They're
yep,
doing useless courses that once they're finished and they go out in the real world, they can't get a damn job
yeah, and then
because they're like
but
pumped with all this
that's
activism in their brains.
yeah, and then their conclusion to that is it's men's fault, and that's what I have a problem with. Like
Right?
I have
It's everybody else's fault.
yes, everyone else's fault. I have no problem with people saying, hey, I want to encourage more women to get into this because a lot of women are going into gender studies and doing this. And I think they have the capacity to do mathematics or physics or whatever. I have no problem with people who do that. However, I have a problem with people, and I constantly get in Instagram battles and a lot of like my scientists friends and science student friends, like they get into it with me about this, especially the women. They um they approach the situation as, we need to encourage more women because we need to see an equal amount of women as men in these workplaces, and we don't right now because of men, like because there's a whole bunch of
Yeah, not because
sexist
there's
and
like people can't make choices in their life, not because people choose to do certain jobs and people have proclivities based on their biology. Like all behavior is biologically rooted. Everything is. I don't
yeah,
know how you
yeah,
can ever separate the two things. Like there are reasons you see general trends in females and general trends in males, and that's why gender roles are a thing too. But it's like I don't know, like you notice it's always the like ugly, fat, unattractive people who no one wants to be around or no one wants to be like that have the most issue with this shit
it's
because
it's very strange. Yeah,
they don't want
yeah.
to change themselves. Like you have to work at it. You got to take care of yourself. You can't expect someone to just like, like we have this Disney idea of like, oh, like love everybody for who they are. Yes, true.
Mhm.
But you also need to understand that if you want to be better, that you're going to have to be letting go of parts of yourself all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
You
100%.
have to.
You
Like
have to.
I
You have
like
to take
from that
ownership.
conversation. Yeah, from that conversation yesterday, I feel like a totally different person today. You know what I mean? Like I've absorbed something out of that.
Likewise.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I woke up and I was like, I felt great. I was so motivated. I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I had a great conversation yesterday. I think I've been like saying that all day.
No, that's awesome. I have a question for you though. Like when,
Sure.
as a man, every time I talk about these issues dealing with feminism or sexism, like of course the women who don't agree with me, they automatically turn to, well, you're a man and that's why you're a man and this, that, and the third. How would you instruct men to deal with that? Like how would you instruct them to, work around that? Because a lot of men, like, they feel kind of like caught up by that, and you know, I don't personally, like, trust me, I work around it. I'm like, that's irrelevant, you know, whether I'm a man or not, you know. So I mean,
That's how I think about it. I think that women and men can speak on each other. We each see each other's behaviors.
mhm.
Again, there's general trends that are quite obvious that ripple through the way that many of us behave. I
Yeah,
personally, like, I don't know. It's really hard for me to say, oh, I would direct a guy to talk like this to someone because I would never tell anybody that they need to work around someone else's sensitivities. If you want to have an actual conversation with someone, you're going to have to be able to talk about uncomfortable things and address things that you have questions about. And like, why should the man have to, like, you're probably being polite as it is. The only problem that you're facing is that they don't like that you're disagreeing or have a different view. And that's not on you, that's on them.
yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That's what makes it so difficult, you know? And like, I find it really embarrassing when these women just act like shrieking harpies and it's like, I am woman, hear me roar. It's like, well, you want to be taken seriously, but you're acting like a moron. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
I
and
don't,
I really try to avoid like not saying that type of stuff because I know that's just gonna turn them around. But in my head, I'm
yeah.
saying that a lot, and the reason why I could kind of, I guess, empathize with them on this is because I hear people making the same arguments when it comes to race. Like, for instance, if you don't agree with Black Lives Matter and
You're
you're not black,
racist.
you're racist. Not only that, but oh, you're white, so blah 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 blah, and that's why you're wrong. Or hey, you're this, so you don't understand my struggle, and blah 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 blah. You know,
Dude,
it's
Black Lives
never.
Matter would call someone like you a coon and an Uncle Tom.
Oh, they
Is
do
that
all the
is that
time.
not racist as fuck?
Again, they don't understand that. Like, to them, one, that black people can't be racist, which is BS. You know,
Hmm.
they changed the definition of racism, which is their definition is if you don't hold power or something like that, you can't be racist as a group.
Oh
And
yeah, only white people can be racist because they have the
they
most
have all the power. Yeah, and to me, that's a
power.
racist like thought to think. You know, to think
Yes.
that other races of people have more power than you as a collective. Like, it's so stupid. You know, so like when people again tell me, "Oh, you're a man, so therefore you can't talk about feminist issues," it just reminds me of when I hear my white friends have to talk to people of the Black Lives Matter type ideologies and stuff, and those type of stances. Whenever they say, "Oh, you're a white male, and that's the reason why you don't agree with me," so that's just it's just something. But
Isn't that awful? Like, okay, so you're saying that everybody else is racist, yet your argument is that you don't get to say anything, you're a white male. Do you remember Suey Park and the whole ordeal with the Colbert report? Where he was making a joke
no.
about the Redskins. It said something about the Ching Chong Bing Bong Foundation for Orientals or whatever. And then this like student activist named Sui Park takes to Twitter and starts this cancel Colbert hashtag because she said that he was being insensitive to Orientals because he was like making a satirical joke about the Redskins team to illustrate how fucking stupid it was because the Redskins also opened a foundation to raise money, but they wanted to keep the name of the team, which is Redskins, which was offensive to a handful of Native Americans or something like that. Well, I guess it like sent the country in uproar, kind of, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never looked into that story, but I do remember hearing about. I think you said Sue Parker. What's her name?
Suey Park.
Suey Park. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember hearing about her, but I never looked into that story. But that's crazy. Wow.
Like
Yeah,
everybody just wants to be an
offended
activist.
by
A
something.
Twitter offended. Oh my God. The I want to
That's
be
a new
offended
thing.
brigade.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
It's,
another
it's
thing. Like women are so hard to approach, like for men in these situations where you want to like be able to like first of all, why would any man want to date someone who is just like we're better than you? We want equality for both sexes, but we're better than you and we should get more privileges. What? You have male privilege. Okay, is there not female privilege? Because I'm pretty sure that guys usually pay for the dinners.
Not only that, but how many clubs have ladies free until blah blah
Exactly.
blah,
And dating
you know,
sites and
and
all these match sites, everything is free
yeah,
for like
or
you
car.
don't have
I
to
think that you can get car insurance some places, because you're a woman, like you get a discount or something. Um,
pay. What?
yeah, yeah. Here in America, some places you could get a discount simply for being a woman. Of course, there are scholarships for women. I don't think that there's any scholarships for just being a man that I know of.
That is so ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another reason why, for instance, like I haven't got my BS yet because I haven't signed up for any of these like black scholarships or whatever and stuff. Because
Mhm.
I want if I get a scholarship or a grant or
You
whatever,
want to earn
I
it?
want to, yeah, I want to earn it. I want it to be because of my abilities and to earn it. I don't
Yeah,
want
not because you're
to,
black.
yeah, not because I'm black, not because I'm a man, not because I'm whatever,
Yeah.
but because of what I do. So like that's part of my struggle in college of trying to pay stuff. But it's just crazy that they think that there's this just crazy amount of male privilege. But I mean, when it comes to individual cases of sexism, like I've seen like guys. What did they say? Like talk over women. I seen guys like make sexual remarks or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of the problem too is like a lot of women don't like check that behavior when it happens.
No,
Like
yeah.
they just laugh about it and then that's it. And I understand they don't want to make things awkward. They're not good with confrontation. I used to be like that when it came to women and men. But
Hmm.
we have to learn how to say, hey, like I didn't like that you made that comment. Not that
Hmm.
oh, I'm going to laugh about it, but then I'm going to get on social media and talk about how this sexist today said this and that and the third. Like, no, like that's not how things work. Like, you address it because that person might not honestly think that he's being sexist
Hmm.
or she is being sexist, but by you telling them that they are and having a conversation about it, maybe they could walk away and never do that again. But
Hmm.
you kind of forfeited that opportunity of happening because you want to show everyone on social media how good of an activist you are.
Virtue. Virtue signaling.
Virtue
Virtue, where
signaling.
are you?
Oh my gosh, this virtual signaling culture, like it just gets on my
And
nerves.
like the just the what did he call it?
Persecution complex or victim complex?
Victocracy. The
Oh, that's a good
victimocracy.
word.
There was some word I can't remember who he was. I think it was Sargon. I can't remember right now, but like, it's just like this like victim mentality that people had that I'm oppressed, like I should get things because I'm oppressed, like the 1%, the this, the that. It's like,
Yeah,
most people are actually in the top 10% in the Western world, and like it's quite a huge margin of people.
yeah, yeah,
And the
and
conditions of living are far better than they are now, but we're really ungrateful. Like, remember I was telling you yesterday about that video I watched on Alexander Solzhenitsyn's like book about the Gulag Archipelago, and he's talking about how these people who lived there, they called them the kulaks, they tried to escape because they would rather have, like, in the dead of winter in Russia, they would rather have died and frozen to death than be in the Gulag. And we're over here like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, why is
like
this on
he's
3G? Where's
mans
my LTE?
he's mansplaining
Yeah.
to my
Oh my
world,
God,
but
my biggest problem is that this guy is like spreading his legs because he wants to be comfortable on the SkyTrain.
yeah, first
Get
world
over it.
problems.
Yeah,
Is
but I do it
it's
too. Like I just talked about
yeah.
how like, if I'm using my phone and I'm in an area where the signal isn't that great, and I'm like, fuck, why is my 3G like so slow? Why is it so slow? It's like, oh my God. And Louis C.K. has a joke about that, right? Like, can you
Yeah.
give it a second to go to space? Like, can you give it a
Yeah.
second? Seriously, we're like, no, 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 right now.
Yeah, everything now, instant gratification now, now.
Yeah.
We need it. We need it. Yeah, and it's crazy, but yeah, and that's what I do. I'm not sure if you ever checked out my post on. I used to do every Wednesday like a profile on women in science or STEM, be it
Oh,
science,
okay.
engineering, or
I'll have to go check
whatever.
your page out.
Yeah, and it's basically about like these women and the hardships that they went through and how
Mm-hmm.
they overcame them and how they did great things back when like there was actual systematic sexism, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like where they were getting um, blocked for certain awards, be it the Nobel Prize, or they weren't able to get in certain positions because they were women, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case might be. Like they faced it, but they still did great things.
Mm-hmm.
And some people thought that I was saying, "Oh, therefore there are no acts of sexism at all," you know, on an
Oh man,
individual
everybody always does
basis.
that, right? It's like you talk
Yeah,
about a terrorist oh my God, I can't even talk. You
it's
talk
all
about a
good.
terrorist incident and they think you're talking about every single Muslim on the planet. Are you calling all Muslims terrorists? No. I mean, when did anybody say that? We're obviously talking within the context of this terrorist attack.
And
I
the
mean,
worst is when
why?
they say you're being racist for talking about Muslims. I'm like,
You're talking about an
what?
ideology. Like, you can't be racist about an
Yeah,
ideology. I mean,
yeah,
come
you
on,
just
people
can't.
don't understand anything. Listen, this is how bad communication is in this world, okay? Communication is so bad that someone as clear and concise and so like verbosely efficient like Sam Harris can be misunderstood.
Yeah,
Like
and
you
he's
gotta
so
be
clear.
stupid
He is
not to
so clear
understand
whenever
him.
he talks. Like he's very like concise and he's clear and
Yeah.
he backs up his points with evidence and he you know he's very careful with how he words stuff, but not in a way
Mhm.
where he censors himself and he's being like
No.
PC, but he's very careful of not making like hasty generalizations or stuff
Yeah.
like that. And for people to misquote him and stuff. Like for instance, when he went on TYT and he addressed that, and Chink or whatever his name is, I'm always gonna say that, whatever his name is.
Whatever.
But when he was like, he had to like, he started off the show like addressing all of these things, and
Hmm.
Chink was like, you know, why are you doing this? Like, I'm not the person to do it. He was like, well, I have to because like when you were talking with, I think the guy's name was
Where's
Reslin.
that Aslan?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah. He was talking because he,
Charlatan!
yeah, because he misquoted Sam like tons of times and just said a whole bunch of wrong things. So Sam had to clear the air about stuff,
Oh,
and
3 hours that conversation was,
yeah,
Eric. And that is what made
literally.
me fucking hate the Young Turks. That is the day that I was like,
I'm
fuck
done.
Cenk,
You're just I'm done.
fuck TRT. I'm never watching this shit again. I can't believe you would waste 3 hours. Like, did you, that the part that sticks out to me is the part where he was explaining to Cenk probability theory. And Cenk was like, there's a 0% chance he's going to show up in Jerusalem or in blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh man, holy crap, he really doesn't understand what Sam was trying to say.
Yeah, like
Like
completely. Like it went right over his
right
head.
over his head.
This
And I'm
is,
like, I got it the first time and I was like, isn't this guy a lawyer? Like Cenk's supposed to be a lawyer apparently. Like he went to school for law.
Oh yeah, I mean, like when I even talk to scientists, you would be surprised at how many scientists kind of. I'm gonna write about this in my blog like sometime in the
You got to
next few
send me that,
months.
hey?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But yeah, I was gonna write about the fact that how scientists suspend their scientific thinking when it comes to like politics or social issues, that they
And some
completely
personal beliefs.
yeah, they completely throw it out the window, like completely. Like when it comes to forming a hypothesis, when it comes to doing an experiment and then analyzing the data and interpreting it in the right way, like
Mm-hmm.
they they throw all of that completely out the window when it comes to social issues, when it comes to politics, and it just baffles me. It's like, why do people do this? Like,
Yo,
like
isn't it weird? Think about this too. Like how many like okay, the thing that I've learned in the last few years watching YouTube is that just because somebody is an atheist and they get it right on the God question does not mean that they are perfectly, like, perfect rational thinkers across all domains. You know what I mean?
100%,
Like, and
100%.
that just goes with any specific thing, but like there seems to be this connotation attached to atheism that if you're an atheist, you're probably really smart and rational and logical about everything. And no, that
Yeah,
is absolutely not true.
yeah, that's very much not factual. I mean, I know I've had exchanged emails with Freeman Dyson. He's a very famous physicist who worked on like things like the Manhattan Project. He's really
Mm-hmm.
old, and he worked in I think he did stuff for World War II, and like he's very accomplished. But I think he's a Christian or Catholic,
Mm-hmm.
and like he he goes to church religiously, and he really believes in God and stuff. But he's a great thinker when it comes to things. Like he's a great thinker. He's very concise when it comes to like everything. And then I've met like people who are atheists, and they're just not great thinkers. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they learned how to think or how they came to the conclusions they came to, but they they don't know how to think. They make generalizations, and they do that whole ad hominem thing, and uh, they don't know how to form an argument. So yeah, I mean, people's titles and their labels, like it means really nothing, like
Yeah,
completely
it's like,
nothing.
hey, I'm an atheist, but there's 6 genders. Wait, what? What?
Yeah,
What the hell?
yeah. I mean, have you seen the new Bill Nye show?
Oh
He
no, Eric! Oh, my friend sent me that cancerous video, and I was like, oh, no, Bill,
Bill.
no, totally lost him. I thought that was a parody, but nope, it sure wasn't. And that
Nope.
was atrocious. It was absolutely atrocious to watch. I was like, holy crap, I'm losing gray matter right now. My brain is shrinking. Oh my God.
Yeah. And the thing is like it it confused it because I watched that was episode 9, by the way, for those who are listening,
Are you
of Bill Nye
serious?
Saves the World. Yeah, it's episode 9, and like I watched that episode first before I watched 1, 2, and so on,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, what is going on here? And then my friend posted about it and was like, this is crazy. I don't understand this. This is supposed to be for adults. And I asked him, I was like, are you sure this is for adults? Because this episode I watched, it was very like kiddie in a way. Like it seemed
Mm-hmm.
like he was trying to appeal to children in a way, with the cartoons and this, that, and the third. And I mean, I'm not saying that I would still be okay with it just because of that. But
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a kid show, but he was like, no, he was like in episode 1, he makes it clear like this is for adults. And I was like, oh no, this
That's kind
is
of scary, right? Because
yeah.
adults are kind of like children right now. I mean, they can't even handle the children. So who do you
Yeah,
trust as the adults?
you just really can't, that's what it's like maturity.
Ah, did you see how you stuttered there? Because it's
Yeah,
terrifying as shit to think about that.
yeah, I can't even think about that because like when you think about maturity, for instance, like I'm sure you've met people who are past their 40s and they're just completely immature,
Not
and and
don't
then
have their lives together, dude. I work in bankruptcy. I've seen a lot of shit.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, and then you've seen people who are like younger than you, and the way they carry themselves and how mature they are. You're like, wow, like you're
Mhm.
really great, and this and the third. So yeah, and it varies. It really varies. But yeah, back to that bill thing. That was just horrible. That was just
I'm so sad
so
about
horrible.
that.
Yeah, that sex junk song, and she was like, "My sex junk." It's so
Oh
what? I was
no.
like, "No, stop, no, my
It was
ears."
so bad. I didn't know what it was. My friend actually sent it to me, and I'm like, "How? I thought we were friends. Like, why would you send me that?" Like, yo, that's some shit.
Yeah, like Bill should know that not only has his audience grown up with him, but also his YouTube videos, they have tons of views, and it's because he's so like raw
He's
and
so well
so
known.
yeah, he's so well known, he's so personal, but and
But we do this thing with celebrities where if they're a beloved person, if they do
mm,
something wrong or fucked up, we just let that slide. I mean, do I need to remind you of OJ?
Oh yeah, yeah,
I
very
mean, yeah,
true.
that was racially charged, sure, but like a lot of people loved him as a football player and an actor, and like the fucking victim's blood was on his car, and they're like, nope, he's innocent. What's
Yeah, yeah,
up?
or the real thing, because I remember. I mean, I was alive, but I only remember the atmosphere during that time.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember like the case. I didn't keep up with it, but I
Mm-hmm.
remember being there, and it was so racially divided, and that was like my first taste of like how much people cared like about race. Like I saw
Mm-hmm.
black people get together and be on OJ's side because it was like a sign of uh, going against the system in a way. And then I
Mm-hmm.
saw a whole bunch of like um, white people, and I mean there were a couple of black people peppered into the crowd every now and then
Mm-hmm.
there, but for the most part it was like mostly white people, and they wanted to see him go to jail. Like before hearing about the evidence, before hearing anything. Like it was like, oh, he killed a white person, so he needs to
Mm-hmm.
go to jail. Like before hearing anything, but then once the evidence came out, you saw like how irrational people were being. Like, oh,
Yeah.
he didn't do it still, and it was just like, what? Like, are you serious? Like,
It's
like,
so crazy.
yeah. And
It's
then,
really
I mean,
crazy.
if you looked into it, like, and saw how like the police they didn't handle it right, and you know, they could have handled it a lot better. It just goes to show like how biases get in the way of things, and it could be serious stuff such as a murder trial. And
Mhm.
yeah, I can't stand that.
You know, it's really messed up that they're trying to implement like implicit bias training in certain HR departments.
Oh my gosh,
Like
really?
your implicit biases are not something that you can access because it's years and years and years of experience that have created those biases in the first place. So
Yeah,
you can't just untrain yourself to not think the way that you think.
yeah, yeah.
Like
I
whoever
mean,
is creating this stupid shit, these tests, these like prevent implicit bias training obviously has no background or in psychology or neuroscience or anything of actual use.
yeah, and the sad part about it is uh, like I don't want to. I know a lot of people they major in this and stuff, so I kind of feel bad saying this, but a lot of it comes out like of the sociology departments. Like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these professors and people who are researching, are due to air quotes because a lot of
Yeah,
it
yeah.
isn't research, but they do this research and then they get into these companies and then they try to like you said, like, kind of force people to do these implicit biases training things, and it just doesn't work. Like like
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why people would go that way to do that, but yeah, it's so strange to me. It's very very strange. I mean, do they do that like at your job or something, or do they do that like anywhere by you or?
No, my job is okay. Where I am, things seem pretty good. The stupidest thing that's happened here in terms of like any kind of protest or anything was like when Trump became president for some reason, people in
That's so
Vancouver,
weird.
yeah, isn't it? Like he's actually not your president, guys.
Yeah,
You
and
know that, right?
that's something, and it's funny because my little brother he lives in Bermuda,
Mm-hmm.
and he was saying how people there were mad and saying like, "Oh, I can't
Like
believe
what?
like he's not the real president." It's like, why are you guys so mad? Like you guys are in another country,
Mm-hmm.
like why are you guys acting like children about this whole thing? Like, calm
Did you hear
down.
what Charles Murray said about Donald Trump being elected? How he was actually the weapon.
No, no.
He compared Simon, whatever that guy's name is. He also said this today. He's like Trump didn't get voted because of who he is. He got voted because of who he isn't. He wasn't establishment. He wasn't Hillary Clinton. Like he got voted for all the things he wasn't, more than he did for the
That's a good
things that he
point.
is. I never thought of it like that. I was like, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then when you also talk to the voters, you kind of get that sense too. Like a lot of people, they didn't vote for Donald Trump necessarily because of his policies
Mm-hmm.
or what he stood for. They didn't vote for him because they didn't like Hillary Clinton. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
like the other opposition. So it was like an act of defiance towards the norm.
Hmm.
and you know, like Hillary, like she stood for the norm. Like she pandered to literally every audience that she got in front of,
Yeah.
um, be it with a black audience and her doing
Yo,
the
the hot sauce thing. What is
yeah.
one thing you carry with you everywhere? Oh, I gotta have my hot sauce. I was
I
like,
was like,
what?
oh, I face palmed so hard. I was like, I don't even do that. Like, what are you talking
Oh
about?
my God.
But yeah, that, and then her, like, every time she goes to, like, some, like, I don't know, it's predominantly black area, she has to do like the popular dance. Like, I
Hmm.
forgot what the popular dances were back then, but she
Oh
was
my
like doing all of them.
gosh.
She was
I saw
dabbing,
clips.
and I was just like, oh my goodness,
Oh
are you
no,
guys
Grandma.
serious? Yeah,
Grandma,
yeah. It was just
no.
like, no, like, don't do that. And this is a little bit off topic, but Donald Trump, like, he doesn't get a lot of credit for this, but he's the first um nominee, or the first person to run for president that supported gay rights, like, before being a president, like,
Hmm.
ever in
Yeah.
history. And a lot of people still call him homophobic, this and the
Yeah, what's with
third.
that? It's kind of weird.
I don't know. I did, again, a lot of the people who are against Trump, and I mean, like, just very much against Trump,
Hmm.
don't they don't sit and listen to, like, his rallies or his speeches. They don't listen to it. They might, like, wait for the news to, like, pull out clips so they could
Hmm.
analyze the clips, but they never sit through a whole speech. For instance, I recently talked to someone who, you know, said all this stuff about Richard Spencer and stuff, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, have you ever, like, listened to his speech in its entirety? And they're like, no, but I know that he's this and then he's that,
Oh,
and
but you
some of that stuff
know.
is true. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, they know all, apparently. And I was just like, you know, like, how can you make such a snap judgment based off the very little you heard about them, you know? And yeah, it just baffles me. I mean,
People don't like to say, I don't know.
oh yeah, they hate
They don't
that.
like to put the time into actually looking into things. They just go by the headlines, like these salacious headlines that are printed by some of these news organizations just to catch people's attention that really make you think that you're getting the gist of the story. But if you actually read the story, that the headline is usually quite a misnomer. And you're like, what? Like if you actually read, you have to read some of the articles,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
you have to. Yeah, and I usually judge the commentators based off, like, their ability to, one, admit when they're
Hmm.
wrong, and
Hmm.
two, say I don't know.
Hmm.
Like they really don't know if this is right or whatever. Especially in the face of everyone saying it's either this or either that. You know, this
Yeah,
politics is very either or, and that's why I love commentators like Ben Shapiro, because
he's
for
great.
instance, when it came to Trump, he was like, I was wrong, like, about him not winning or not having a chance. I was wrong about this. You know, his first few days, I was wrong about him not pressing action and this, that, and the third, or I don't know about this. And that's why I listen to him. And I'm not saying, like, everything that he says is right or I agree with, but he's very honest. And we're seeing
Hmm.
more of that in media today, or not media, alternative media. We're seeing more people become honest, and more people turn into that. And I think that that's really the wave of the future. I mean, do you see that? Do you see, like, more people going towards that, or do you see some of the, like, the same stuff where people are listening to, like, MSNBC or
Well, I mean, like I
Fox?
said, I think it's mostly old people, but like there's some really wonky stuff happening on YouTube right now with like ads and all these YouTubers who are making videos who are getting their videos demonetized because of some like they've given the power of any ordinary person to flag any video they want for any reason, basically.
Yeah, can you tell me
And
more about that? Because I don't really. I mean, I've heard about the drama. I've heard people comment on it, but I don't know where it starts. And yeah, can you just tell me more about
I
that?
think it started actually like near the beginning of the year, end of 2016, where YouTube introduced this like very weird peer reviewing system where if somebody feels like there's offensive content in your video, they can flag it. And then if YouTube takes a look at it and decides to suspend it for a certain amount of times, you can write an appeal and they can either decide based on your appeal whether they're going to allow it or not. And like advertisers are pulling, I don't know the entire story too well,
Mhm.
but I just know that it gives people the power, he shouldn't just have the power to pull down your video because of
Yeah.
offensive content, because that's subjective. Like there's some shit that's supposed to be offensive to hear. A
Yeah,
lot of the truth
exactly.
is, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, you never should give the mob power like that. You know, I mean, never. And that's why a lot of people are like, "Oh, you know, America is a democracy and it's supposed to be by popular vote." No, we're a constitutional republic. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a difference. And I think it's great that way because it gives people without a voice, like the whole electoral college thing. I'm not saying that it's perfect.
Yeah,
However,
yeah.
it's better than mob rule, whereas, you know, oh, majority of people voted for this person, then they get it. Because then, you know, California, Texas, New York, and a couple other states would just take it all the whole time. You know, smaller
Mm.
states, they wouldn't have a say in elections. You know, there would be no point of going to the polls if you were in a smaller state. So that's why I love that. But yeah, I think this whole YouTube thing is just crazy, and um, I don't know what to think of it. I heard someone say something like because of what PewDiePie like went through with his whole controversy
You
that
know,
that
it's
was
just the
part of
old
it.
media coming after the new media with that whole PewDiePie thing, because he has like the highest subscriber count on YouTube, period.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think they're like scared and they're kind of like,
Yeah,
oh
well, they're
shoot?
dying. That's why. YouTube is a way better outlet. Anything that you can catch on TV is on YouTube, anyways. You know what I mean? And like, you have people who are actually going through articles, reading them to you, and like asking questions that need to be answered that apparently journalists who are supposed to be trained in this field of gathering information and like properly executing it, to the public,
Yeah.
somehow that's not happening. And I mean, like, why do you think there's such an issue of fake news? And then there's this other thing of like, you have people like, what was her name, Kellyanne Conway, saying shit like, oh yeah, alternative facts. Like, you're gonna throw out terms like that make absolutely no sense. There's facts or there's not facts.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
And then
there's no
and then
alternative facts. What the fuck is an alternative fact? Your perception? Like, I don't understand where these terms come from. It's just like,
yeah, that was like a Jedi mind trick when I heard that. Like at first
yeah,
I thought people were like misquoting her at first because I didn't look at the clip. And then once I looked at the clip, I was like, oh, she really said this. Like she
yeah.
is dead serious too. Like she thinks that there are such things as alternative facts. And it's like, no. I mean, one thing that science teaches me is like there are things like in the middle, there are certain things that lean this way, but it's kind of this way. Like um, for instance, you know, or there are like for instance fact check sites, like they might fact check something and it could be mostly true, it could
Mm.
be mostly false, it could be misleading. You know, it's not either right or wrong all the time. Like it can be a little bit of this and a little bit of that sometimes. However, there are no such thing as alternative facts, you know, where,
Hmm.
you know, oh, this is a fact but this is also a fact. Like no, like it's either, like you said, factual or it's not factual, you
Yes.
know. So yeah,
I
that's
mean, the
weird.
only place in which it could be hard to determine whether something is factual or not is within solely a social setting where the whatever the context is a social, like an argument or something, right? Because two people have a different perception of one thing and you don't always agree on those things. That's the only time I could see there not being some sort of it being very gray on like an objective underlying occurrence in that specific context. But
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. A little less up in our fields is what we got to be, and like we need to be able to discern. Oh my God, let me tell you this word I heard in Sam Harris's podcast. I swear that's like my favorite podcast. I always learn something. Perspicacious means having keen mental perception and understanding. So an
oh
aptitude for
wow.
being able to discern, right?
Hmm.
And like that's something that I think people need to practice. Like we need to be able to understand what emotions we should lend credence to and which we shouldn't.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. And
we
then
need to be
where
able
to
to
bring
examine
it to.
ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. And like also, you know, if an argument needs that, if you do need to bring up like moral arguments, like is it worth it. I mean, because like for instance, if you're talking about something philosophical, like or something that involves ethics, like artificial intelligence, like of course
Or
you
CRISPR.
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I get people all the time that come to me talking about, oh, this is evil, and this was in the Bible, and they predicted this, and
Oh my
don't do
God.
it, don't you dare put that chip in yourself, and
Oh my God.
I'm just like, oh my goodness, like this is one, this is not what that is, and two, crazy, like stop, please. But yeah, no, it's those people are so crazy.
Yeah,
Like
I don't
I
know.
literally had this girl that she first she started out with Bible quotes. I was like, oh shoot, here we go.
Oh God.
And then right after the Bible quotes, then she just started messaging me like over and over and over about stuff and oh no, God doesn't want this and God doesn't want that. And I'm just like, oh, like stop, like like you're making like emotional arguments here. I'm not talking about that. And she just wasn't listening, she wasn't having it. And then she talked about like some personal testimony, because in religion that's like a big thing, personal
Yeah.
testimony, like because they're literally asked to do that each and every time when they go to church, like anyone have a
Hmm.
testimony. So when they talk to people who don't necessarily believe what they believe, they testify to them, like that's
Hmm.
going to do something, like that's going to change their mind. And it's like, no, sorry, it's not going to change my mind. But
Yeah.
yeah, so she started testifying and talking about, oh, she saw two comets in the sky, or she said shooting stars, and I was like, oh, do you mean comets or or something like
Oh my
that.
gosh.
And
I call them
then
shooting stars too, but
no, no,
like
no,
I
I
know
mean,
what
I
they
mean,
are.
I was being mean, like in
No,
the
no,
way
I
people,
know. But
you
isn't that
know,
funny though? Like that's
yeah.
really what people think they are.
Yeah, yeah, they think they're stars. Yeah, like she thought,
Yeah, like
I
falling stars.
thought they were falling stars. Yeah, and then and then after that, she was like, "Well, after I saw those two falling stars, then Jesus came and talked to me," and I was like, oh, "All right." And I was like, "Oh
Um,
yeah." So I started entertaining. I was like, "What did he say?" And she's like, "Oh, he said blah blah blah," and then God spoke to me, and then blah blah blah, and I was like, "Oh my goodness gracious," you
I
know.
could never date a religious person. Could you date a religious person?
I actually can. Yeah, I can. It depends on what type of religious person they are,
Hmm.
because there's a spectrum of them. Like, when it comes to like being like that girl was and being super extreme with it, no, I can't
Mm.
think that type of religious person. However, if the religious person was like a person who didn't take it like super duper seriously, who didn't always have to like go to church like all the time, and didn't look at what I do as immoral because I didn't believe in whatever they
Hmm.
believe, and didn't want to force that upon our children if we were to have them,
Hmm.
then I could date that type of person. I really can. But it's very hard to come by those type of people because people are so extreme in their ways. So it's very difficult. It really is.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just find it difficult to like you generally meet more people you're not really going to connect with on a deep level than you do the people you are going to connect with on a deep level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, naturally.
Like, no, it's just that the world is like 99% douchebags. You know, like maybe I'm cynical about this, but like you have to go through a
No.
lot of jackassery
Yeah, you do.
before you hit someone or you hit the jackpot and you're like, hey, yeah, cool person. Oh my God, can we just talk about stuff? Because that's all I want to do.
Yeah, that's why I was so happy about our conversation yesterday, because again, like when people hit me up and I think they want to start a conversation, they're just like, "Hey," then that's it, and I'm like, "Oh, hey,
What
how
do you
you
mean,
doing?"
hey?
Yeah, like, and that's it. Like they won't comment on something that I said or whatever. They just like, "Hi."
You know what was so cool yesterday is that like as soon as we got on the phone, I was able to just be like blah 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 blah. This is happening, that's happening. This is how my day went. Like it just felt so like that's such a difficult thing to come by where you can just like openly talk to someone and not feel weird or you not feel weird. Like people get weird about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Like I even have people get weird about um just wanting to know about their day or wanting to know about more about them. Like they're like, oh, I feel like I'm being interviewed. I'm like, are you serious? Like I'm just asking like a
Yeah,
question.
I
I'm
want to
not.
know what you're doing. I want to know what's up. What did you eat today? Like, what did you
Yeah,
do?
yeah. This is a regular like question. They're like, I feel like I'm being
Yeah.
interviewed. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to interview you. I'm just
Yet
having a
you'll post
conversation.
all your shit on social media and Instagram. Okay, your close friend can't ask you what you ate, but you're gonna fucking post your meal on Instagram. What is that all
Exactly.
about?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Like
so weird?
that is so weird. Yeah. I mean, I never thought of it like you just did, but yeah, that's very weird. Yeah. Wow.
Because
Yeah.
people are so weird. We are so fucked up, man. Like,
We are.
oh, we don't
We
even think about
are.
these things. Like, I always find that as soon as I start talking about like all the little things that you see in like in society and like behaviors with certain people, I'm like, you know, I probably did that at one point, or I've probably thought like this and not even known it, because a lot of the time you don't know unless you actually think about it, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Like
Yeah.
talking about like, oh my God, we're like the first world problems we complain about. Like not
My
until you
3G.
hear,
It's 3G.
yeah,
Where's
what
my
the hell?
4G?
Not until you like you read about real life suffering do you can you put into perspective that your life is actually really, really easy. Like people died of dysentery in the day because there was no running water, no toilets. Like we take toilets for granted.
Oh. Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
that
We
crazy?
do.
Like it's so simple for us. We're like, it's a toilet. I gotta go to the bathroom. Excuse me, whatever. Not even thinking about like how amazing it is that like we have toilets that flush, we have showers that work, we can be clean. There's way less disease. We have
Running water.
vaccines, running water. Like we have pools and gyms and fun things to do everywhere. And like we'll
Yeah,
just find the next
there's
thing to
no
complain
food
about.
shortage like Venezuela right
Yeah.
now. They're going through a food shortage. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they just complain. Like again, it goes back to the whole victim culture thing. Did you call it
Yeah.
victimocracy or something?
Yeah.
Victocracy.
Victocracy, I think
There
it
we
was.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. People just love complaining because like that's trendy. You know, it's trendy to see other people complain about stuff, and a lot of people think that that's like cute and cool and stuff. And again, like we all complain about certain things, but
Yeah.
I just don't understand why people do that all the time and feel the need to kind of get like a joy out of doing it
It's just never
regularly.
enough. That's why.
Yeah,
It's never
it's
enough.
never enough. Yeah, nothing's ever enough.
No.
Yeah.
And we're so unfulfilled. We're so unfulfilled because I think this guy is onto something. Like people these days are not forming deep, meaningful human connections because they're doing everything through their phone. You know
Yep.
what I mean? There's no actual communication where it's like where you're just straight up and like, you know what, I'm really upset, and because I'm upset, I'm being a dick to you right now, and like that's just how it is until I get over it, until we talk about it or whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna be a dick to you and I'm not even gonna tell you there's a problem, but oh, you know what, I'm acting normal. Obviously the problem's you.
Yeah. 100%.
I'm like, oh my God, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I would I would message people like whenever they had a book that they took a picture of or something, and
Mhm.
I would try to expand with them on it, and they just seemed like weirded out that I, a person that they never met before, is trying to like ask them about like the book, and it's like, well, you know, why would you post it or share it if you're not trying to like, you know, show other people this and be
Oh
asked
my
about
God.
this? Like, why would you share it publicly?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and
You know
that's just
what?
weird to me.
I used to have this view that like social media, like I had this argument with a friend of mine, and he's like, you know what, if you didn't need to show anything that you did, you wouldn't need to post anything online. You wouldn't need to, right? You
Mhm.
obviously want attention. I'm like, it's not solely for attention.
Yeah,
Either way, that is what you're posting it for. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to post it anywhere. And it is kind of true. It actually took me a while to come to terms with it. It's like, yeah, you have to admit that like any capacity to which you use social media to spread your ideas, your content, whatever you want, like that is to garner attention. Why do followers matter if that's not the case?
exactly. Yeah, very
Right?
true. Yeah, but I guess it's all about, you know, what type of attention. Like, you know, if you're putting your butt on the sink every picture, and you're
Your
doing
butt on
stuff.
the sink.
Those are literally a thing. Like, like
Yeah.
put the cheek on the sink so it can appear bigger.
Yeah.
And provide thirst traps. Then obviously you want that type of attention. And what baffles me are people who do stuff like that, and then they go, I don't understand why I'm garnering this type of attention and these type of people. And it's like you're getting what you're putting out in a
Yeah.
way. I mean,
Yes,
of course, I'm not
exactly.
saying that behavior by people are like, justified, but at the same time, you're kind of getting what you're putting out. Like, for instance, I get messages about my posts and about topics relating to them, and it's because that's
Hmm.
what I put out. I mean, if I posted a whole bunch of, like, I don't know, nasty things, I'm sure I would get those type of people, but
Hmm.
I'm not. But yeah, it's all about the type of attention, I guess, that you're trying to have. And, like, for instance, I love, like, your videos because, like, you're trying to motivate people and you're telling people, you're like, do it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it right now. I'm gonna make me some breakfast. I'm gonna
Oh
stop,
my,
like, sitting in bed, and I'm gonna get this done right now. Like,
oh
every
my
time I see
God.
it, I'm like, oh, I'm so ready to get my day on and do this. You
Oh
know?
my God, I love that. It's funny because a couple of people have been like, "Oh my God, it's so funny when you say that at the end. Do it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, do it, man. Like that's all there is to it. You just got to do it. You can't
Yeah.
think about it. You can't ponder it. If you're gonna do something, do it. I need to. The reason I'm doing those is because I need to psych myself up, man. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I just get tired, and you have to keep psyching yourself up. Like every day you wake up, you got to be like, you know what? This is the day. This is the day. Because you don't know if tomorrow's coming. You really don't. And we all get so caught up in the rut of things that like we forget that. You know,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
think like our
100%.
lives are just like infinite. We're just gonna be like floating, and then all of a sudden we're gonna be old, and like you don't know what's gonna happen. You can get hit by a bus. You can get to a car accident. There's far too many variables on a daily basis that you need to deal with that you're not even aware that you need to deal with that could end your life.
Yeah, any second, any time, And I mean, but where did you get that idea from to do that? Like,
Right.
start being motivational and to make those type of videos. Where did you get that idea from?
Spontaneously, I just did it one morning.
Wow, wow. I wish
I
my
just
mind
thought,
worked like yours.
I don't know. It might be a crazy person thing, honestly.
I
It
doubt
might
it.
be a good thing to like think those things through, but like, I'm kind of a crazy person, and I like to do fun, random things. Like I'm not that shy being myself. I'm
Yeah,
really not. I'd rather I don't care if you like me or not. So I'm gonna be less inclined to worry about what you think and more inclined to do what I just want to do. Cause like if you don't like me, that's great. I'd rather you not like me for me being me than you like me for being someone I'm not.
yeah.
Like I said before, I don't want to pretend to be someone. I'm a fucking weirdo. That's okay. That's okay. It's okay to be different.
Yeah,
It's okay to be weird and make jokes and like if people don't like that, fuck them. Who cares? There's
yeah,
millions of them everywhere. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it gets too
everywhere.
hard like sitting here and trying to appease everybody. Everybody wants to be offended. Everybody wants to be upset and people just like let go of the petty shit, man. Like why? Would you rather get along with someone or would you rather have a grudge? Because a grudge is far more taxing.
Yeah, yeah, far more taxing.
Way
and
more.
and also, I just think that people, like, for instance, when I go to these political events and people are arguing and they're being violent or whatever, I'm like, you don't go to these political events so you disagree with people. You're trying, or I would think you're trying to learn from them and you're trying to persuade them. I mean, that's the reason why we care about politics and we're outspoken. We're trying to persuade people
Mm-hmm.
into at least considering our ideas. But a lot of people, they it just seems like they don't want to do that. And I think part of the reason why is they're just afraid to just face the truth, like, about themselves, like how little they understand things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think what you're doing is great because you decided to do that, like, out of nowhere, and to motivate yourself. You're doing it for yourself first, and I think that's
Yeah.
how all things should be. Like, when it comes to social media, you should post for yourself first, not
Yeah.
trying to be like Kylie Jenner, not trying to be like insert person here. You're
Hmm.
being yourself, and part of the reason why I post what I post is to better grasp the concepts I'm writing about. Like I
Hmm.
have to go and research these things. I can't just post things, out of whatever. Like I have to
Hmm.
research these things that I'm talking about. So it kind of helps me grasp these things, these concepts, and that's the reason why I post what I post. And it has done great for me so far. So yeah, I love the fact that you do that for yourself. Like I think that's great.
Yeah, and I share, and it's kind of fun, like it takes guts. I don't know, for some reason I'm really nervous in front of a camera. But like, I don't know, it's just something fun to do. And if I make someone laugh that day or for whatever reason, great. I mean, it serves more than one purpose, right? Being a weirdo and putting yourself out there, like it also like tacitly permits other people in some sense to feel comfortable to do it as well. It might encourage someone else to be weird that day. Or it might like make someone else want to, might make someone want to smash their goals today. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could be that, like what Tupac said, that spark the mind of the person who's going to change the world.
maybe
You might be that spark. So
that'd be kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah, and I think you do. I mean, again, like every single time I watch those videos, I'm like, yeah, I'm getting up, I'm doing
Yeah,
this.
right. And like I feel, and like the other thing that I'm trying to do is like I know that I feel good when I actually motivate people. Like when I'm supportive for people, like when I can talk to people and pump my friends up. Like I really like doing that. I
Yeah,
really
it's a good
like
feeling.
making them
It's a great
feel like, hey, you know what? Like you can handle this. You got it. Don't worry. If you want to break down, break down. It's okay. Like I'm listening to you. Don't feel like I'm judging you. Don't feel like I'm gonna like think any less of you because you're having a human moment and like things are a little bit rough right now. It's okay. Like have your moment and get back to it because you got to get the shit done. You got to keep going. We all got to keep
Yeah,
going. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. You can't
Things are going to
stop.
keep getting us down forever. Things are going to get harder. I mean, we're getting older. The existential angst just gains traction with age. You know what I mean? Like, you have to learn to deal with that shit as you get older. It's just going to bog you down.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just going to tear you apart. Like that stuff is stressful, and stress kills.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just can't harp over those. Which is
You
all
need
that
friends
stuff.
like this,
So
though. Do you
yeah,
understand? Like, you need friends like this who you can sit down and, like, have a conversation with and, like, just get to pick their brain a little bit and, like, explore territories you wouldn't explore on your own. And, like, it's cool to walk into the forest of the unknown with a friend,
yeah, 100%. But do you
right?
think that people like want that? Like, do you think that some people like? I know they need it. Like, it's clear that they need it. But do you think that a lot of people want that?
I don't know. I think deep down people do want it. If there's a need for it, there has to be some sort of want. People just shove it aside because like one of the things that um the Simon guy said that you absolutely cannot rush are job satisfaction and strength in relationships. He said that those two things are very slow, meandering, and messy processes. Like they take a lot of time. Building relationships, whether it's a friendship, like if you want it to be a long-term thing, it does take a lot of time. And like we all know that as time progresses, we get to know a little bit more of the darker sides of our friends. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like when they're frustrated, when they wake up on the wrong side of the bed, when they're having a really shitty day, and it's the first like you've never experienced them mad, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I'm gonna focus on my day today. I'll talk to you later. It
yeah.
just seems like it's out of left field. You don't know, right? Like you need to be able to understand those things and like I don't know. It can be really hard. You have to get to know people.
Yeah, yeah, and I think more people need to be better listeners too, and truly like
Yeah.
listen to people because I'm sure you've heard people say, "Oh, I'm fine," but you could tell because you know them, you're their friend. You could tell that they're going through some things. So then you ask them more, like, "What are you going through? Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And then you find out more. So I just think a lot of people need to be better listeners and listen to those cues where it's showing like they're stressing about something. And yeah, hopefully we inspire people to have better conversations about things around that subject.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be good if people talked more. I mean, I know it just seems like, I don't know, I feel like I always sound really naive. I say, like, you really do. You need to talk to people. Like, it's just nice to sit here and talk to someone.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Like you're
so
building a
rare.
connection. It is rare. Like, we've sat down for like 2.5 hours now.
Oh shoot, really?
Yeah, it's like 10:30
That's
here.
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
like
gosh.
this happened yesterday too, or we just like hung out and we just talked, like no big deal, no pressure, it's whatever. And like time passes and you're like, holy shit, like I had a really good time.
Yeah, yeah,
We
that's
touched so many
crazy.
topics. We went on this
Yeah,
tangent and that tangent, and look at all the things we thought today. And like
yeah. And what do you
we
know?
had a really synchronized day today. Like it was kind of cool. The only thing that I was missing was dropping off a parent to the airport. But you were like, I'm going to the gym, and then I'm gonna blah blah blah. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna be going to the gym, and then we're both home at the same time, and we're like, oh yeah, we're gonna shower. Okay, I'll hook up with you after we shower. All right,
Yeah.
cool. That's great. You know, like that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and then when I text you, like it was literally like I received your text and I
Your
was
text is
finishing up
funny.
like one
Please
sentence.
help.
Yeah. I was like, oh shoot, I just finished, then I just got home or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, then I was like, oh please help me. I don't know how to do this. This is my first time doing this. So thank you
Yeah.
for
Did
showing me this.
it worked out? Yeah. It worked out
Yeah, it
pretty
worked out
good.
great. Yeah, it worked out great. I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it. You know, like it's really weird listening to yourself for the first time because the one that I did with Brian, I was like, oh, I'm going to listen to this. But I actually really enjoyed listening to it. It was
Yeah.
interesting, you know? You're like, oh, okay, well, I don't sound that bad. I got a pretty good mic, so that's
Yeah.
good.
What type of mic do you have, by the way?
It's a Blue Yeti.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I should
Yeah.
have hooked up my. Maybe I'll do that next time because I have a Rode NT1, I think. I
Whoa, that sounds
yeah.
fancy.
I mean, I got off Craigslist, so
Yeah.
I did a little bit of research on it. But yeah, I had it because I want to start a YouTube channel and I kind of want to do stuff like this and
Hmm.
interview people. So yeah, I bought that mic, but yeah, I like this, and this is really cool.
It's kind of a nice transition, like into just the world, I guess. I mean, like my whole thing is I do not want to care about if anybody listens or not. I just want to put them out there,
Yeah, yeah, put them out
you
there,
know,
put
because I
these
don't want to get caught
conversations
up with
out.
the wrong things. It's too easy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
It's
and
too
don't you
easy.
wish that you recorded like every one of your great conversations?
I do now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I do now for sure. Like I've had a
yeah,
lot of good conversations, but you know what though? Like past few months I've definitely been having like I've been needing to talk more about more things. I really need the diversity of brains. You know what I mean? I like talking to different people about different things because it's important. You want to diversify your thought portfolio. You don't just want to think like you all the time. You want to try and like kick yourself out of that, right?
yeah. It shows how intellectually honest you are because a lot of people just want to surround themselves in like a
People who
bubble
just
of
agree.
people. Yeah, people who just agree with it. And I'm like, why are you guys like so into circle jerking? Like this is like to me that
Yes.
would drive me crazy. Like to be around a whole bunch of people. Like for instance, like for me to be around a whole bunch of my physicist friends who are into string
Mhm.
theory instead of being into loop quantum gravity or the other theories of everything that they're trying to do. Like I like to diversify my group of friends and have non-scientists or have people who are not even into science like at all, and or be it they're religious or whatever, because it's just
Mhm.
good to hear about all those perspectives and things. And I wish I could record each and every one of those conversations, or the good conversations that I have like this.
Yeah, intellectually honest is the goal. I wouldn't say that I'm there yet, but like I'm hoping that this is one way that I can keep myself accountable to the things that I say because when I hear myself say them, there's something different about it. You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
talking to a friend, like actually working shit out, it's in a very enjoyable setting where I'm going to be excited to listen to this. You know what I mean? Like, oh my
Yeah, me
God, look,
too.
we created something. Like we had a conversation. It's permanently available online. You know how crazy that is? This will never disappear.
Yeah. So when we're
This
like,
conversation will be online forever.
yeah, when we're like 60, 70 years old, we can go back to this, and pull this up and
Oh,
be
can
like,
you
oh, wow.
imagine?
Yeah,
That's gonna be really
it's
cool.
that would
If
be
I'm
really
alive that
cool.
long, though, dude, because I don't know if I'm gonna live that long. If I can
I
get some
don't
sort of
either.
like serum, do you want to? Because I think about it all the time, and I'm like, you know, if I'm not able to walk properly or function in some way, or I need to pee in a bag or something, I'd rather just, like leave space for someone younger.
Oh
Like, why am I
yeah,
sucking
yeah.
up resources? Just forget about it?
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. I mean, and that's why I want to do research in biophysics sometime during my
Mm,
researching career because I'm all about human longevity, and a lot of
yeah.
people they're working on how to extend our life, but not to extend our life just as like old people, but to keep us young, like to keep
Hmm.
us young looking and our insides young and. To extend our life that way, and then hopefully indefinitely one day. I mean, that I could go on for like hours about this, but a
But
lot of
life is
people
only life because there's death. You know what I mean?
kind of, but I think that it should be a choice. I think you should choose when you want to go. I don't think that it's cool that the fact that you get old and die. I mean, just think about how many more Shakespeare plays we would have had if he lived to be 500 or something. Think about what Einstein would have came up with if he lived to be like 500 and he never had the problems that he had. There's just
Yeah, I
so
guess you don't
much
get
that
to
we could do.
choose. Yeah, you don't get to choose that you got here, but I guess you should get to choose if you want to go,
Yeah, you
right?
should.
Like some
And
people have such messed up brains, like they're depressed and they can't get
yeah,
happy. It doesn't matter what pills they take because like a lot of our personality is driven by genetics, you know what I mean? And like
yeah, that's the sad part.
it's really frightening to think about. Like I have these thoughts all the time. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to succeed in this world. I know where my genetics come from. My family is fucked up." You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
really scary. I'm like, okay, I have it a little bit together now. I don't even entirely have it together. And like what's gonna happen as I age? Like is more shit just gonna pop up from a childhood that I'm like I'm unable to tap into at the moment because I don't know how. I don't know how to like hack my brain. That'd be so
yeah.
dope. If you know so much about the brain that I can become like a biohacker.
Yeah, I think that all of that is coming up, and that's why I think science should be well funded because there are tons of people working on these problems each and every day, and they're trying to solve um, uh, mental diseases, psychological issues, and all this other stuff. They're trying to find cures for this and trying to understand the brain better so that we could prevent this type of stuff. And yeah, and it's
Yeah, but
just it's
then
just
like then you
hard
get into
because
really sorry, I'm so sorry to cut you off, but it's just so
oh
weird
no,
because
it's
like
fine.
as soon as you start thinking about like getting rid of these diseases, you actually do have to talk about editing the genome, pardon me, editing the genome, right? And if you're
Mhm.
editing the genome, what you're doing is you're taking consent away from that future offspring who's supposed to be benefiting from this genetic change.
I
It's
mean,
a
but maybe
consent
maybe
issue.
they're benefiting. I mean, like for instance, if someone had the genetics of having, I don't know, breast cancer or something, like a lot of people in
Mhm.
their family has breast cancer. If you were to turn that off, I think you're kind of, I think that's beneficial to the offspring of that person. If you were to
Mhm.
turn that gene off, and then who knows, maybe that person doesn't want kids and stuff, so they don't even have to worry about that. But I find that there's a lot more uh, it's more beneficial than it is um, like bad or evil or
Mhm.
possibly like immoral, and I think that it all lies in choice, and we should just have that choice to make versus being a slave to our biology and our genetics.
Yep, but I mean, unfortunately, we kind of are. That's not one
Yeah,
thing we can really separate ourselves from. That's why it's really helpful to actually have knowledge. This is what Socrates talks about, man. The unexamined life is not a life worth living. Like, the more you know, the more you can apply yourself towards being virtuous. The more you
Yeah.
know about the monsters that like are just an intrinsic part of you, the more you can learn to work with those things in your situations in life. And if you're not gonna deal with that shit, you're always gonna fucking have problems.
Yeah, always, always. And there was a
Always.
show that kind of touched on this. I'm not sure if it was Doctor Who
Hmm.
or someone, but I remember there was a show, and like in the future, there's this dystopian future. They had pills where they could forget about very traumatic events, and all you do is pop
Hmm.
the pill and they'll forget about it, forget all about it, the memory
Hmm.
erase. And I was like, that must be horrible in a way, because if you don't remember, like, we are our memories, like that's what we are, like
Hmm.
that's what makes us
Hmm.
us. If you were to take away all your memories today, you would no longer be who you are.
No.
Those experiences would be gone, how you dealt with those experiences, what you learned from those experiences, all of that would be gone, and you would cease to be the person that you are. So
Hmm.
I understand that some people, it's hard to deal with stuff because some people are dealt with a bad hand, but at the same time, we're supposed to be able to work through those problems, pull lessons from them, and become better people because of it. Truly have that examined life that Socrates was talking about.
Yeah, but we need to like you need to make the choice to do that. You're not
Yeah,
just gonna suddenly start working on yourself. You have to actively do it.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of people, I don't think, are willing to actively do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do when like we're so afraid to just criticize each other as friends or just talk to each other if we have some sort of problem or have some sort of question where like it just needs to be turned into some sort of ordeal of defensiveness, and then one person has to explain and just say, hey, I just wanted to talk to you about this, and one person's like, oh yeah, well, blah blah blah, and you're just like,
No, that's the
well,
worst.
fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like I was just trying to help.
what do
Thank
you
you.
do?
Yeah, yeah, it's very hard. I mean, like, for instance, I don't really know you too well, and this is like the second time of us talking. But at the same time, think that if I were to criticize something that you're doing, like, you would be willing to listen, and you would be willing to either disagree with me and tell me why you disagree with me, or agree with me and be like, oh, well, thank you for that criticism.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
type of
don't come
person I'm
at
using.
me, guns
Yeah,
blazing, and swear at me. I mean, you probably won't get
yeah.
the best response out of me then, but like, I mean, it's pretty easy to be like, hey, you know what? You could have done this different, or hey, let me make a suggestion to you. Okay, cool. Because if you're someone that I'm spending time with, chances are I actually value your opinion and care to hear what you have to say. And I don't think I'm perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I definitely think that like my communication skills can be refined, and that's why I want to try and have more conversations, because you have to be able to talk to a lot of people. And I don't mean like I'm not into the kind of talking to people that means like see what you can get out of them, or like any kind of thing like that. Like I genuinely want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly. Just have a full conversation, and again, expand on subjects, and
Mhm.
be able to talk to a person. I mean, that's what I search for too, because I'm truly trying to learn from different people. Like, I always try to learn. I remember uh, being with my ex, and she wasn't able to understand why I even talk to like people like white nationalists, or
Mhm.
people who are very extreme in their religious beliefs, and say mean things, or get into these like debates online with people about science. Like, she really didn't understand that, and I was like, well, it's good to talk to people. Like, I don't have to like act like them back and scream at them and stuff.
Mhm.
But they may have a point when it comes to something.
Yeah.
They may have some. They may look at a certain situation that I didn't look at it in that type of way, and I come away from the argument learning something new, and I could research the things that they talked about after that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, right? If you want more of a technical understanding.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
also nice to be able to talk to people about like a wide variety of subjects, and a lot of people don't expose themselves to a wide variety of subjects, so that makes it a little bit difficult to engage in any kind of conversation that may be of use to you in terms of like, pushing you forward in some way, making you curious in some way, sparking your interest in some way. Like, I don't know, maybe I need too much stimulation, but I really like it's like again, it's been almost like it's been over 2.5 hours and we've just continued to talk.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, it
it's
just
just
flows
effortless.
so nicely. Like when
Yeah.
it's so nice to be able to just talk to someone and like I'm not worried about saying anything. I haven't censored myself. I've dropped a few F bombs. Like it's pretty nice and comfortable environment. That's really nice. And I don't know personally how to get people to be comfortable like that because the thing is you just have to be comfortable.
Yeah,
Like I just have to
100%.
be comfortable. If you're not just gonna be open from the start, it's like you're gonna run into that issue where, like the mask is dissipating as time is going and like there was a much thicker mask on than you thought there was. I guess. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
really know how to explain it properly. It's not always an issue of that. It's just that some people don't necessarily know how to respond to openness to that degree, and a lot of people are taken aback by like because if you really get to know someone, it's really hard not to really like them. You know what I mean? Like to really
Yeah.
adore a person for like, oh man, it's just so fun to have a conversation with you. Like it's really hard for people to, I don't know, people find that weird. It's very strange.
Yeah, and I don't understand that. Like, I really don't understand why people find that weird. Um, and again, I think it goes back to the point that we made much earlier, which was people aren't comfortable with themselves. Like, they're not
Hmm.
comfortable with themselves and what they like, and the things that interest them. So I don't think they surround themselves with other people who are comfortable with themselves. So when
Hmm.
they do meet someone who's comfortable with themselves, they call them weird, or they act kind of awkward
So they
around
try
them.
and tear him down, like tear down the person. You know what I mean? Like I was
Yeah,
listening to a
yeah.
Joe Rogan episode today, and he was talking about how like it's so weird how people get personal with you if you don't like something that they like, or if you like something they don't like. It's all of a sudden it becomes a personal thing. Like, oh yeah, you fag, you like iPhones. It's all about Androids, you bitch. Like the stupid shit people like identify with and use as some sort of like who cares if they like an iPhone? It's a preference
Yeah,
thing. Why do
people
you
are
give a
so married to their beliefs. Like, it is
yeah.
crazy
To
how married they are
objects? To objects.
to
We give
objects too.
objects
Yeah.
such abstract and like weird ass meanings and like we attach some sort of emotion to it without even knowing. Like these things affect our behavior. Jordan Peterson talks about this in his book where we ascribe meaning to things and those meaning and pertinence to our goals actually like spur behavior. They actually
Oh
affect our
wow.
behavior depending on whatever meaning we give that specific thing in terms of a goal that we want to achieve, whether that's like a momentary goal or like, something, whatever, something that just is a part of your life or whatever. Like it's just strange. We're very weird. Human beings are weird.
Very weird. Yeah. 100%. I need to get that book too. What I mean, yeah, what is it called?
It's called Maps of Meaning, the Architecture of Belief.
Oh wow. Yeah, I need to get that.
Yeah.
I think I'm
And it's like really he's a clinical psychologist, so he breaks things down really well, and I actually like how he will talk about the mythological structures that have been prevalent throughout humanity that actually um, depict different parts of our psyche and represent like different states of being.
mhm.
And then he talks about the clinical and like neuropsychological aspect of things where he'll actually talk about the right and left hemisphere and this part of the brain does this and this part of the brain does that, and then he'll compare them to like certain mythical stories. So one of the ones he talks about is like a really old folk tale of it's an origin story called Enuma Elish, and he talks about like chaos and order. Like the world is always like being alive is always balancing between the realms of chaos and order, right? When you've been totally thrown into a situation where there's so many unknown variables, that's a chaotic situation. And like when things are going well, you have a routine kind of thing. That's your order, and like the most knowledge is found in the unknown. Like you're living a life in which you're like constantly walking through like the unknown and the known are constantly juxtaposed and you have to constantly traverse the line between the two.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that sounds like the psychological version of the second law of thermodynamics in a way.
Oh my god, that sounds so cool. Oh my god, you did this to me yesterday where you made a physics reference and I was just like so fucking stoked. I was like, ah! Yay, nerd speak!
Nerd, yeah.
So awesome. I love that.
You you taught me a new term, the leg pit, was it? Or knee
Oh,
pit?
knee pit. Oh
Knee
my
pit, there we go.
god.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That,
That
that
girl in them knee pits. Look at them
was
knee pits,
it's like those
girl. Oh
sexy
my
knee
god.
pits. Look at those knee pits.
Yo, ask her if she's DTF. Those knee pits look great.
Those knee pits are great.
The
Mm.
knee pits. That's so funny.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh.
I didn't even get it at first. I was like, knee pits? She's like, yeah, you know, like armpit, you understand? Like, this is your elbow pit. Well, this is your knee pit right here. And I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, right? Oh my God, it was so funny.
That is funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So what is your plan for the evening now? Do you need to get to bed? It is 10, it's like 1:45 where you are.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but I'm a night owl, and I usually still, this finals week or
Mm-hmm.
weeks, next week I take my final. But I usually read, and then if I feel myself getting tired, I get up and I set my laptop like on the dresser, and I start looking at videos and researching things that I need to
Mm-hmm.
research, or looking at a lecture. I just do a whole bunch of things, write notes, and I just love learning new things.
Yeah.
That's what I do in the wee hours of the morning, as Frank Sinatra would say.
Oh, that's a great song.
Yeah, I love that song. I love
I
Frank
love
Sinatra.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, he's
He's
great.
great.
Yeah, he's the best.
I mean, I'm not doing anything either. So get this. I have a friend who lives in Norway. His name is Thomas,
Mhm.
and I asked him to do a hangout as well. So I'm actually gonna wake up again at 2:30 a.m. I have tomorrow off work.
Oh, great. Yeah, I was about to say,
Yeah.
I feel so bad. I was like,
No,
dang, you go to
no.
work.
No, no. Listen, this is one thing you'll learn about me is that if I need to go to sleep, you're a friend of mine. You'll understand if I need to get off the phone to go to sleep. So I would just say,
Good,
"Hey,
good.
Eric, I gotta go to sleep. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for your time, and have a good night."
So basically, you're saying you're good at communicating.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would do, right?
Great, great. Because some people aren't great at communicating. Some people are like, "Oh, I didn't want to say anything, but
Mm,
yeah." And I'm like, just tell me. Like, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm gonna talk to
yeah.
you tomorrow or whenever. Like, it's no problem. Just tell me if you could talk or not. Is this all right? But yeah, I'm glad you
But
are
it's
able
kind
to
of
do
weird,
that.
right? Because like you're actually a busy person, you actually have responsibilities, and because of that, I think there's like an understanding there that like, sorry, you can't always be available, right? You need time to yourself. Like we were talking
Yeah,
yesterday about how like it's really not healthy to need someone around every moment of the day. You need to have some time on your own to like decompress, to like find your center again. You know what I mean? Chill out a little bit, like have your own thoughts because you really do start becoming the people around you, becoming
people are
like the people around
scared.
you
People are scared to be with themselves because they're scared to
of
like face.
themselves.
Yeah, they're scared of themselves. They're scared to face that true part of them that is, kind of disappointed in how they're portraying themselves and what they're doing, and
Hmm.
all this other stuff that you face whenever you sit and you reflect on the things that you're doing. And yeah, a lot of people, they just can't do it. They cannot be around. I mean, they cannot not be around other people.
Yeah.
It's just so hard for them, and I don't relate to that at all because ever since I was little, like there are times where I would be by myself for hours and
Hmm.
hours. When I got punished, I had to be by myself, and I was told I had to read something and then report back to my mom or my dad about what I read and tell
Hmm.
them in detail about it, like what I read. And they would take away, if I had a video game system or if I had a TV, they would take the whole TV out, put it in their room, and make me read whatever it is that they wanted me to read. And that time to myself, I thought about what I did, I also thought about what I had to, to say to them.
Hmm.
I also apologize, and a lot of people, I just don't think they ever learn to truly be by themselves and to reflect on the things that they do. And it's scary to them.
Yeah, it is, but it is scary. That's the thing, is that it
Yeah,
is something
it is. It
scary.
definitely is. Yeah. I mean, do you still get scared like when you sit by
I don't,
yourself?
I mean, like there's parts of myself that I don't necessarily like, that I know come out at times that I can't control. I mean, I seem really cool and shit right now and we're chilling talking, but man, sometimes when like there's an argument happening or there's a tense
It's like
situation,
Dr.
like
Jekyll and Hyde.
yeah, man, I become a monster sometimes, and like that's something I really need to be a little bit more aware of and learn to dial back, because I am never coming into any kind of situation and trying to cause a problem. Like, that's never my intention. I do not like doing that shit. I don't like to purposely cause drama. I don't like to. It's not how I roll. Like, I've gone through so much drama that it's like, I'm turning 30 soon. Like, I don't want to keep growing up with this mentality that like this is how you deal with problems. Like, you freak out, you whatever, right? Like, I mean, I do freak out, don't get me wrong, but like obviously it's a concern enough that I want to fix that. And it's going to take a lot of practice. And I don't know if you watched that video of the Jordan Peterson and like the best relationship advice ever, but he's like, you have to let your partner do things badly for quite some time. And you have to get rewarded for the positive things you do, not punished for the negative things you do. Because the negative things are salient in our mind. The power of positivity fades pretty quick from an event.
Yes, that's very true. And then
Yeah.
also people, it's easier to point out people's flaw to point out people's flaws than to treat them with respect and to um, like deal with whatever it is that they're going through and to work with
Hmm.
them through stuff. I mean, that's the reason why we stay in relationships longer than we stay, and that's the reason why we keep friends around who are very
Not good
toxic.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's I don't know. I just think that like this is very true. People need to stick with things sometimes and to not just constantly point out negative stuff and to harp on that. It's easy to do that. I just think most people are just kind of like lazy thinkers in a way. Like they don't want to do anything that's complex or hard to do. They just want to take the easy way out all the time. And it's so easy to take the easy way out, but it has short-term benefits. I think the long-term benefits, they come out of.
There are none really. I
Yeah,
mean, if
yeah,
you
that's
actually
true.
want to build a long lasting thing, like again, whether that's like a friendship or whatever the hell it is, right? You got to be willing to. I don't know. It's so complicating. I try and think about this a lot because a lot of the time I'm like, how do I make this better? But like, it's not just up to you. It's up
Yeah,
to the
it's
other
never
person
just.
too.
Yeah,
It's up to whoever is involved. And if they are unwilling to cooperate, there's really nothing that you can fucking do. Because once you don't have words, the only thing left is violence, and there's just no point of that,
yeah, and
right?
it's not healthy. It's not good for you, and there's only so much that you could take, of course, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's very difficult, and it's very difficult. I mean, I looked at people, for instance, who deal with people who are alcoholics or
Hmm.
um, they're on some type of drugs. Like you could sit there and you could help a person like all you want, but that person who's an addict, they have to want to change in order for you to truly see any results.
Hmm.
If they're not willing to change, then you're never getting anywhere, and that's just the cold truth of it.
Yeah, you know what? I think we have this like really weird perception that like I need to get over it myself, that love me for who I am. Well,
uh,
no, because then that doesn't really, loving you for who you are and not telling you what's up with you that could be better is like really doing you a disservice. You shouldn't love yourself for who you are, not entirely, because you need some anxiety, you need some dislike, you need to be able to take those negative emotions and like use them to push yourself forward and get better. Otherwise, what else is going to motivate you if not you?
Yeah, nothing at all. And again, that's a trend now. Like the trend is to, hey, take me for who as I am, for who I am, and also I when I speak with no filter, and I'm not going to think about anything that I say. And if you say anything, be it constructive criticism or you're hating, like whatever, like I'm
Mhm.
not going to listen to it. And it's like no, like you should be able to decipher whether it's criticism, like and it's constructive, or if it's just pure trolling or hating.
Mhm.
And there are differences, and just because someone's your friend doesn't necessarily mean they're giving you good advice. But then also, just because you don't know someone, that doesn't mean that they're trolling. You know, they could really be
Yeah.
giving really good advice to you, and just because you don't know them, you're like, oh, whatever, like you're just hating. Like it's easy to say that. It's harder
Yeah.
to face those demons and to really address them for what they are, and to improve as a person. That's a very, very hard thing to do, and not a lot of people are willing to do that. And I'm just confused on how to get people to do that. Like, how do you think people, or how do you think we could get people to do that more?
Well, I mean, the solution sounds really easy, but the implementation of it is difficult. And it always comes back to when you have a negative emotion, if you can get into the habit of turning it inward instead of looking at whatever you can blame outside of you as a problem all the time, it would probably really help. Like, always, like, even if it is the other person's fault, see, like, what you can do to think about it differently, right? Because there's going to be people are always going to fuck up around you. Like we're all gonna fuck up around each other for the rest of our lives. We're not infallible. We're built with issues. We are amidst a process. You know, evolution is getting better, but we're nowhere near the best.
Yeah, and I don't know if we will ever get there where we're going to be like
No.
at our absolute best all the time. You know, I mean, what type of
Mhm.
life would that be?
It wouldn't. Because it seems like everybody just it seems like the goal here is to remove challenge and just make things as easy as possible, but I don't like I really don't think that's what the function of anxiety is, for example. Like I don't think anxiety just exists. Anxiety is like pent up energy. That's energy that you should be using to, oh, I don't know, maybe evolve.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, or just to get better, just to be better,
Mhm.
and to redirect that um, energy into other things. I mean, for instance, when I'm stressed, I like to work out more. You know, I like to
Mhm.
do stuff like that. I like to read more. When I get really mad, I tend to write more and write a lot. Because
Mhm.
I had this person who they gave me great advice. They said, whenever you get writer's block, just write about what makes you angry, and it
Mhm.
works all the time. So whenever I do, those rare times I do get angry, I just write about it, and it just makes me feel so much better.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when you get angry, like to kind of calm yourself down, or
All
to
right.
you write too?
I write, and yeah, I like to meditate too. I'm starting to do
Oh,
like the
great.
10-minute Sam Harris guided meditation every morning again. I kind of fell off the, you know, sometimes you got to fall off to fall back on. So
Yeah, yeah. Did you get that from his book, or is that like
the
somewhere
meditation's
else?
on SoundCloud. It's
Um,
actually part of his podcast. So if you have any kind of podcast app or SoundCloud, you can found it. You can find it on there. It's a really good 10-minute meditation. He has the most soothing voice. My goal is to like one day use the F word to the effect that Sam Harris says. Because when Sam Harris says the word fuck, like it's like an earthquake in that conversation. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't use it very often, and I'm awful. I'm like, I drop F bombs like it's nobody's business, and I need to slow down. And
no, just keep doing it. Throw it
it's
out there. There
fuck.
we go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have to slow down though because it's not very becoming of a lady,
Oh,
Eric.
please. Nah. Oh, please. Screw being ladylike.
I'm just chilling. I'm pretty like liberal with my language, but I do actually want to try to, because sometimes I start thinking like, if I was a mother right now, I wouldn't want to be dropping F-bombs around my kid, and like if I'm around children, I don't want to accidentally drop, because remember I told you yesterday about my jackassery and that word that just slipped out of my mouth that is actually really bad to say in public or in
Yeah,
any kind of
yeah,
setting
yeah.
if that came out accidentally. Like if I got beat up at that point, couldn't even say anything. Be like, yep, yep. I mean,
Yep, I say
yep, I said
it.
it. I mean, I had it coming. It's totally my fault. So
Mm.
go ahead, crucify me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, we all have, our issues when it comes to the things that we say,
mhm.
but yeah, I don't think it's that bad. But yeah, I love Sam Harris's voice too. It's very soothing, and
Mhm.
some people say, "Oh, it's too monotone and it's too calm and this, that, and the third." But
It's
I'm
too
like,
calm. Oh my gosh.
yeah, like they're like, "Oh, it's boring. It puts me to sleep." And I'm really, are you serious? Like the stuff that he's saying will keep me up for hours. Like like after hearing it.
Mhm.
So this I just don't understand when people say, "Oh, he's boring," this, that, and the third. Not everyone has to be like Jason Silva or someone who's very charismatic, like Neil deGrasse
Jason
Tyson or
Silva
something.
is like super excited in 2.5 minute bursts. Okay, Sam Harris, like he's Sam Harris for the amount of language that he uses, which is very little. He's a very efficient speaker. He
Yeah,
says
very efficient.
so much in like 3 sentences.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you have to like sit down and just like marvel at the profundity that 3 sentences could transpire. You're just like, what? Holy shit, Sam Harris. Whoa, okay. Like you just knocked me out of this dimension into another dimension. I have to think about this. Like it's gonna take me a while to get back here. It's so
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah, it's kind of like how you brought up that word that you heard from the podcast.
Perspicacious.
Yeah, it's just like that. Like I would write stuff like that down. Like I never heard
I
that word
totally
before.
did write it down.
Oh,
I do
great,
that
great.
all the time. You know what I
I
mean? Like
was,
every time I hear a word, I'm like, there's no other way to expand your vocabulary but to like write shit down and pay attention to words people use. And like the books that I read, like there's some difficult language, and I always make sure I have my phone out so I can dictionary.com things and look things up and make sure that I'm not, that I'm understanding what I'm reading. And like it's great. It's great to learn words. Like today I was sitting, it's also like interesting to read things in a style you don't normally read them in. Like I was reading some Nietzsche this morning, like this afternoon while I was sitting at work and like taking my break and stuff. And it's so crazy like how differently he used English
yeah,
than we do, you know?
yeah, yeah. I love that. Yeah, I mean, he's one of my favorite philosophers. But
Me too.
yeah, I love his outlook on everything. And but yeah, yeah, I love looking at, like, for instance, Shakespeare. And how they, because wasn't that in the 1600s?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so like the way they talk was a lot differently. So and he uses some complicated um, words sometimes, and I have to look them up. But I love that. I really, really, really love that, and I appreciate like speakers and writers who are able to say, okay, I trust the people who don't know what I'm saying to look it up or whatnot and
Hmm.
find out themselves. And Sam Harris does that perfectly, and
Hmm.
I appreciate him so much for that, and I love his books. I love, 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 love his books. I mean, have
Yeah,
you
he's a
read his
great
books?
writer. Yes, I have all of them.
Oh, oh, really?
I haven't read all of them, but I own every single one of them. I still need to read The Moral Landscape and The End of Faith. Those are the two I have left to read.
Okay, okay. Which one is your favorite so far?
I really, really loved Free Will and Waking Up.
Or what did you like about
Lying
this?
was good too. Islam and the Future of Tolerance was good too. I'm really biased with Sam Harris, you know what I mean? Like he's my favorite. He's my
Yeah.
number one. Um, Yeah, I definitely really, really like him. What was that one he did? Letter to a Christian Nation. That one was pretty good too.
Hmm.
But As for favorite, I feel like my favorite one will probably be the moral landscape.
Oh, really? Yeah, I think that one too because um, doesn't that talk about science or something?
Yeah, it's like science and morality.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and he makes a case that you know, science can be could determine your morality or something like that.
Mhm.
Or yeah, yeah, I have that book, but I haven't read it yet, so I'm
Yeah.
not sure. But yeah, I really loved Waking Up.
Yeah, I definitely like that one. I like the brain and the psychology kind of stuff. And I really liked how he tied like mystical experience through the like scientific lens, looking at it as like different states of the brain as opposed to a supernatural thing that you think you're tapping into. Like it's a state that your brain creates. And like the first chapter, he talks about doing MDMA with his friend and like how his brain was just like super turned on, like totally activated. And he was like he was like with his friend and he loved his friend and like he had such an opening experience. And like it's all just, it's nothing but a perturbation of neurotransmitters, you know what I mean? That's all it is. Drugs, that's what drugs are. All they do is they throw certain things in and out of balance, certain neurochemicals. And like the how those neurochemicals change produce an effect, and that effect is what you're experiencing through whatever, whether it's your psychedelic experience or your hallucinogenic experience, whatever it is.
Oh
It's all
wow.
that's happening. It's nothing but chemicals.
Yeah, and something as simple as that is just beautiful. Just to know that these these chemical um, just these all these chemicals that influence your behavior and
Mhm.
everything is such a beautiful subject. I love that stuff too. I really do. I wish I had the memory to do chemistry or neuroscience or something like that because I think that stuff is cool. But
But you're
uh,
doing physics. That's the hardest.
but I mean, it's more mathematical though. Like it's more about the math. It's more about the concepts. I mean, it's not nearly. And then the terminology is so simple. Like
Mm,
it really is simple. Versus like in chemistry, I can't pronounce like half of the stuff at least, or more than half. Probably like 90 to 80% of the stuff I can't pronounce. It's so
really?
hard. Yeah, I'm really bad at pronouncing
Oh
things
my
that
God, I
are
don't
foreign.
even believe you.
I'm so bad at that. I promise you. Like, I mean, look at when I try to do chink or chink or whatever his name is. I can't
Okay,
even get
but
something
that's
as
a
simple
weird
as that.
name. Come on, Eric. That's just a weird name. He's a freaking Turkish buffalo. Like,
It's like this buffalo. He's a new species of animal.
yeah,
Oh my
there's this name
goodness.
coined for him, the fat brown buffalo.
Is there really?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It
Oh
really
my
is, though.
goodness.
Of course, of course. I'm like, wow, dude,
It's like
go
chill,
away.
chill.
I know, right? And like, it's convincing to the young people. That's what's really scary about a lot of these organizations, these progressive organizations or claiming to be progressive
Yeah, I was about
organizations,
to
is
say
that they're really
air quotes
taking,
progressive.
yeah, they're hold of these young kids' minds and they're really warping these kids' minds to a point where they think cops are bad. Cops are bad for society.
I can't
Like
stand
there's
people.
like 0.4 deaths by cops towards blacks, and like they're saying it's such a big problem. It's like, yo, what about the death that's happening in your community, guys? Like,
Exactly. Like
please, there's
that's
like,
most of it. Like they're like, no, you're deflecting from the fact
I
that cops
know.
could be bad and cops could kill
Hmm.
you and cops could boo. And you know what the craziest part about this?
Hmm.
The worst arguments that I've had with people were
Hmm.
usually like white women who were like very leftist and stuff like that. Like they would go hard with me about this. Like, are you crazy? Like, how can you say that? And blah blah blah. I was like, well, one, I grew up in a predominantly black community at one point.
Hmm.
Two, I am black, and then three, I looked up statistics. Like, it's not that hard. Like, I I looked up the statistics, and I'm sorry, I don't have to fear a cop. I have to fear another black person before I fear a cop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I have friends who died by another black person, most likely,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, so it's not a thing where cops are going around shooting people execution style. No, this is you know, that doesn't happen nearly as much. And then they'll do something like very misleading, like say 596 people were killed by cops last year. Well, how do you know like at least 70 to 80% of them were justified or not? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, you're, and the media outlets, they make it worse because they have that in their headlines. And it's like, well, you're not considering how many of them are justified, how many of them are not justified, and how many of them it's a little bit, you know, hard to determine, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But being a cop is very, very difficult. And I really think a lot of cops suffer from PTSD, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, because like that's a very stressful job to have,
You know what I
especially.
find really frustrating? Everybody just passenger seating cops. Like this is the one thing this is one thing I don't like about social media is that it gives every single fucking person, especially people who shouldn't have a platform to express their stupid ass views, and they want to get on social media. They have no formal training. They have no idea what that job takes. They have no idea what it's like to be in the field as a cop. And telling they're going to start announcing how cops should start doing their jobs. I can't believe the cop did this. He should have done this. Okay. Well, I mean, you have to consider that he's acting within the confines of like what, 30 seconds most of the time? Like 10 seconds, 5 seconds?
Not
Like,
even that. It's like
no, like a
a
second.
half a second
Yeah,
sometimes.
you don't have a chance. Like you're gonna do whatever is gonna come to you instinctively. And it's like people are
Yeah.
so stupid. They don't understand. They don't want to sit back and they can't sit and think about these things. They just want to, I could have done it better. Oh, really? Is that why you're not a cop and you're working at Walmart as a cashier? Do you please know your
Yeah.
role?
Right. Like, and the crazy thing about it is, like, I used to be. I, I wouldn't say I was a part of Black Lives Matter when it first happened, but
Hmm.
I did sympathize with many of their points, and
Hmm.
I did support them to some degree. Now, after the Mike Brown case came out and the evidence came
Oh
out that he
no.
was against it, I mean, that he was wrong in that case, I got off of Black Lives Matter because a lot of them didn't want to agree that Mike Brown was wrong, and there's DNA evidence inside the police car on the
Hmm.
police gun, which means that, you know, he had his hands somewhere near the police officer, and all
Hmm.
this other crazy stuff. They didn't want to like admit like, hey, we were wrong for assuming he was unjustly shot and all this
Hmm.
other stuff. So I would like come out and I would say that, and you know, it would be problematic, and of course, you know, get called every word under the sun, the coon, Uncle Tom, blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, that's really mature of you, but yeah, and and then I heard people. I mean, I would hear people say stuff like, "Why didn't he shoot him in the leg?"
Hmm.
or "Why didn't he shoot him in the hand?"
Hmm.
And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, if you're stopping someone, and so if someone attacks you, and be it they charge at you or they reach in their waistband, and you look, and a lot of people don't understand like how cops are trained too. They look at training videos
Hmm.
of other cops being too nice
Hmm.
and getting shot down, murdered on camera, and they know that this could happen to them. So
Hmm.
when they see a person reach into their waistband and they give a command like put your hands up, they're not doing that to waste their breath. They're doing that because they know what can happen, and then if a person doesn't put their hands up, they're getting shot. Like, that's just how they're trained,
They don't
you
have the
know.
time to like decide or figure out if you're someone that's safe enough to not defend yourself against. You don't have the time. You have to protect yourself as a cop. And like the way to be like the fail safe way to be protected is compliance. Like people need to comply with the cops and they don't. And they give cops a reason to shoot them or to get in these situations in which these things happen so quickly because you need to listen. You're supposed to listen. And if you don't listen, that cop is automatically and totally fair to think that he's in a risky situation now.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course that doesn't mean to say like everything is perfect with the police force. Like
Mhm.
for instance, I could say that I think more police need to report bad policing that they see, because a lot of them see like bad things their co-workers do, but since they look at themselves like as brothers, like similar to how people in the military look at one another,
Mhm.
they don't like to report their coworkers on things that they do bad, and I think
Mhm.
that could be very problematic. But I mean, for the most part, I think they do their jobs well, and if you comply, even if they're being, um, very like just being buttholes to you, like I think that you'll leave with your life, like you'll leave with your life and you can report them, it'll be on their record and you could take the necessary steps. But if you're arguing with them and then you reach somewhere, even if you mean well, like something bad will end up happening, and
Mhm.
it's it's never good to put your life on the line for something so simple.
Mhm.
It's, yeah, I just don't get people like that. I really don't.
And I mean, if you're not doing anything wrong, there should be absolutely no hesitation with, "Hey, put your arms up."
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, and or like hands behind your back or whatever it is, just
Hmm.
whatever. It should not be difficult. And if it is, then you have to understand, like, a lot of these people who do resist arrest, they pull their guns out, they have drugs on them. There's a reason that they are getting pulled over, or they've drawn some sort of attention to themselves. And like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that difficult. It's also not very difficult, like the whole profiling issue, right? People think that you are bigoted because of we profile people. Now we profile people based on experiences that we've had and things that have been echoed throughout our culture, that have informed us about a certain group of people or a certain subset of people or what have you. Now, is it more like you're not going to be able to help acting on your instincts? You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, for example, people think it's racist if like a black guy walked by me and I clutched my purse, like, oh my God, you're automatically racist. I mean, no, that's not the case. You have to understand, like, people don't seem to understand the like just the sheer numbers, the why did that blacks commit the most crime per capita? The it's like 6% of the population, because it's usually the young men, right?
yeah, yeah,
And like, it's not like, based on that alone, it's really not weird if you're walking out on the street by yourself as a man or a woman or whatever, and like you walk past a black gentleman and like something makes you uncomfortable and you clutch your purse. Like, I mean, like when you look at the reality, it's really not that weird to have that kind of a reaction. It doesn't mean you're a racist.
yeah. It doesn't mean you're a violent, crazy racist that's out to hold black people down and to put them all in jail. Like no, like, and I think about this often too. Like if I was a white person or any other person and I saw the crime statistics and I lived in a black area, or maybe just was in a black area and I was by
Mhm.
myself, yeah, I would I wouldn't feel comfortable like sometimes when certain people are passing me or doing. I
Yeah,
mean,
but dude,
even
you're a
now.
coon. You're an Uncle Tom. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. But
right.
even now, I mean, how many times? Like, I've been to like bad areas, and there were a group of guys that would come up to the car, and before they get to the car, I have my doors locked. And then,
Mhm.
especially if they come and they like tell me like or trying to get my attention, I'll barely roll down the window because I've been taught by people like, look, like if you're in a bad area, never roll down your window completely because
Mhm.
they could grab you, they could do this, they could do that, and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So like there's things that I do, and it's because of the area that I'm in, and I'm profiling in a way that I do. And then let's look at cops. Like one of my family members who's a cop, they said, okay, look, if you receive a call that there's been an armed robbery in this area that happens to be like highly populated by black people, and the description of the person who robbed the store was a black male, dreadlocks, 6 feet tall, white shirt, and you're walking, I mean, you're in the street and you happen to fit the description, Like
Mhm.
that's not a bad thing that that the cop is stopping you and asking you questions. They're trying to
Mhm.
come to. I mean, these cops aren't just like
They're doing
riding
their
around.
jobs.
Yeah, they're doing their jobs exactly. I mean, if someone robbed your house and you had a description of them, like, do you want a cop to be like, "Oh no, I'm not going to stop anyone in the street because I don't want to profile"? Like, no, you're going to want them to stop whomever um, it fits the description, so you could get your stuff back, or so justice could be served.
Mhm.
But a lot of people don't think about that. They just think emotionally, like, "Oh, this racist, this racist, this racist." And then also, whenever we talk, I think drug laws are stupid. Like, I
Mhm.
think drugs should be decriminalized. But at the same time, when people talk about, oh, black people, they're locked up more than white people, blah blah blah. Well, usually they're locked up because cops are in these high crime areas. So
Mhm.
naturally, where there's high crime, cops are going to make more arrests in these areas, and they're
Mhm.
going to check people more in these areas because there's high crime. Now, if the crime goes down and there's still like cops locking up more black people than any other thing, then we could go, okay, that's a little, weird there. We need to see why. But
Mhm.
there's reasons why these things happen, and it's not because of racism, or especially not systematic racism. There's no such thing as systematic racism in the United States of America today. And
I know,
uh,
right?
yeah, and then I'm sure Canada too. I mean, I don't know Canada's laws too well, but
No, there's
yeah,
no problems here to a point where like they're being blown up to be. Do you know who Larry Elder is? Larry Elder is one
yeah,
of my favorite people to listen to about the race issue.
yeah.
You know,
I have
like
like three of his books. Yeah, I love it.
I love that guy. Like take personal responsibility and like this whole issue of reparations. What do you think of this?
Oh, I think it's completely stupid because one, um, most of these people weren't alive when there was like actual systemic racism, and then now that there isn't, like, how are you going to properly give people reparations for that? Like,
Mhm.
yes, I would have loved for the slaves right when they were free to get reparations. Like, I think,
Yes, the people who actually suffered the slavery,
yeah,
not these like children who are in universities and it's how many generations later they did not have to suffer any slavery. They have not suffered any effect of slavery. In fact, they probably wouldn't be here if their ancestors weren't brought here in the first place, which is kind of like
exactly,
a
yeah.
right? I mean, I'm sorry, you have to think of it that way because you wouldn't be here in the land of opportunity if your ancestors didn't suffer for you. So you pay them reparations. Pay yourself. Like nobody's
No,
paying
it's
you for
true.
existing. Like that's I don't know what it is that like
Yeah.
has made this attitude like a thing, but like I should just get paid and I should just get free shit for existing.
Yeah, for breathing, like literally
Yeah,
for
what?
breathing. And then that's why, like, I'm against like, first, yeah, I'm against like socialism, because that's basically what socialism boils down to me, is I'm
Mhm.
alive, you have more than me, we
Mhm.
need to be fair, so give me free stuff. That's what it
Mhm.
literally boils down to, and that's why I can't stand it. But um yeah, a lot of people, when it comes to reparations, they have that same, like, ideal, is like, I deserve free stuff because I'm breathing, I'm alive, and my ancestors went through something terrible. Like,
Isn't that
no.
so embarrassing? My ancestors went through something terrible, therefore I should reap some sort of benefit from that?
Yeah, let's go one further. Like, so if your dad or your mom or your grandma like did something really horrible, like,
Mhm.
should you have to suffer for that? Since you
Right?
want to, say that you deserve everything. Like, okay, if they did something terrible, do you deserve to go to jail, like, and then complete their
No.
time? Or
No, but they don't
no?
think about things that way. Like they're only thinking about it in a way in which they could gain the benefit out of it.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's
yeah,
not about logic. It's not about logic. It's not about what the intelligent thing to do is. It's about what is going to appease them and what they can squeeze out of the issue. I mean, like this girl here, Yusra Kogali, who was like the BLM leader in
oh my gosh, I
Toronto.
heard about her. Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard
she
about
stole
her.
like $300,000 worth of like donations and shit money that was raised in order to help her with her cause, and she like embezzled money and left the university.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was like a huge deal. You know, she like
Wow.
and the kind of tweets she would send out like, Allah give me power not to kill one of these
These
white
white
people
people,
today.
yeah,
And I was
I
like,
saw those like
what?
live, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, that's cool, yo. That's totally cool. Apparently, if you're black or you're Islamic or you're whatever, you can say whatever the hell you want about white people and Westerners and whatever group that is perceived to have any kind of freaking power. But like the second you are dissenting against any of these like hot button issues, transgenderism, Islamism, Black Lives Matter. Oh, you're getting banned off Twitter, bitch. Like, you are not allowed to say anything. These people who are loud, shrieking harpies, who have nothing of substance to say, really, who are pretty much just whining and getting sympathy points from people. Like, these are the people that we want to give a platform. And we're going to remove Milo, for example. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's like
there are way
wow.
worse shit
He's back on
posters
Twitter,
than
by the way.
Milo.
I'm
Oh,
not
is
sure
he?
if you're not. Yeah, he's back on Twitter.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he got. I'm not sure when, but I know that he's officially back, and he has the Dangerous Faggot tour 2 coming up, and I
Mhm.
think that's the reason why he came back on. But yeah, he's back now, which is crazy. But yeah, it blows my mind what they allow. You know, like don't allow Charles Murphy, or is it Charles or Charlie Murphy? I know it's
No,
Charles Murphy.
Charles Murphy. Charles Murray.
Yeah,
Murray.
Charles
Murray.
Murray. Yeah, there we go. Um, don't allow Charles Murray to say um, IQ is mostly genetic, be it
Mm-hmm.
50 to 80% genetic, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because that's racist. But this crazy girl from Canada could say all the racist things about white people and everything. And my thing is like, why is there a Black Lives Matter in Canada? Like out of all places, you know,
Oh
it's
my God,
like
Eric, I
does that
don't
make
know.
any sense?
Why was there a fucking protest here the day Donald Trump won the election? People went to Trump Tower in Vancouver. Like, guys, seriously, do you need to be told he's not your president? Like,
Virtue
what is
signal.
wrong with you? What is you going to Trump Tower gonna do? You have nothing better to do in life than go to downtown Vancouver and stand there with your dinky ass signs and
And
like
then flipping
protest.
off his thing and taking
Yeah,
pictures, and
like
I
he's
feel
not
good about
there.
myself now. Like it's like
Yeah. It's a
calm
mob
down.
thing because you have a group of people to go with. You can feed off the mob because you all agree with each other. It's a circle jerk situation again. You're
Yep.
all assuring each other, "Oh yeah, guys, we're virtuous. Yeah, guys, I'm virtuous, right? Yeah, I'm virtuous. You're
Yeah,
virtuous
these
too."
people are
Okay.
evil and we're virtuous. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's much easier to go and shut down these events and to do the things that you're talking about than to like go to these places and question like people like Milo or question
Hmm.
people like Charles Murray and all these other people. You know, it's hard to do that because they don't know how to act as individuals. They act as groups. They identify with um, or they engage in groupthink, but they
Hmm.
identify with their groups more than they identify with themselves, and
Hmm.
that's the problem, you know. And I mean, for instance, like with Milo, like I don't agree necessarily with everything he says, but at the same
Yeah.
time, if I had a problem with what he says and he's in Georgia, I'm going to go to his event and I'm going to stand in line for the question and answers, and I'm
Mm.
going to ask him that question
Mm.
and expand on that if I'm allowed to, you know.
Mm.
So that's the best way because that's going to be on camera and people could hear me and they could hear his response. So if he does have a horrible response to it, guess what? It's
Mm.
recorded now. So like I won that, you know. If I'm right on that subject, I'm just saying, you know, if I am, but um, if I'm not, then I walk away and I learn something new. So it's a win-win situation either way.
Mm.
But a lot of these people don't see it that way. They just see it as, oh, we're just gonna go and yell and tear up things and uh, you know, engage in circle jerking and
Mm.
not have conversations because these people are fascists and they're Nazis and we should punch Nazis anytime we see them and this, that, and the
Isn't that
third.
such weird logic? Like your words are violent, okay? But like if I want to use physical violence because I feel like your stupid words are hurting me and you haven't physically touched me, like that's totally okay.
It's so weird. And again, like we touched on this earlier, but it's the whole microaggressions issue. Like you
Mm-hmm.
microaggress me, so I get to do a microaggression and actually cause harm to you because you microaggress me. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, that's not how it works. Like, use your words. You can use your words. But I'm starting to think like a lot of these parents don't teach their children to use their words or something
But a
because
lot of parents who have children don't actually, it's like, it seems like poor parenting strategies plays like the hugest part in all of this because why is everybody so entitled? I mean, we obviously learn how to communicate first and foremost from our parents. Our parents are our example. Our parents are supposed to socialize us and teach us things and talk to us. And you know what? I don't know about your parents. It sounds like your parents had a good thing going. They made you read and stuff. My parents never talked to me about anything. You know what I mean? So it's really hard to know how to behave when you haven't actually been taught. And a lot of the time, our parents weren't taught by their parents, and it just keeps going down the line. Everybody's just kind of like, trial and erroring everything. Well, if they
yep.
fucked you up, they fucked you up, and that's it. That's what you're stuck with now, and
No,
you're gonna
no,
have to overturn it.
this is the big thing that they say, and I cannot stand when people say this.
Hmm.
Oh, I turned out all right, so this is why I do what I do. And I'm like, no, you
Right?
didn't turn out all right. And that's the reason why your child is acting in this way
Mm-hmm.
or people are being this way. And that's the type of like attitude people have when it comes to not only parenting, but pretty much anything. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I believe this because I'm okay and I'm doing well for myself, and I think that other people will do well for themselves if they believe what I believe, and blah 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 blah. And that's not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it really starts with the parents. It starts in the household, and if the
Mm-hmm.
parents are able to talk to their children and stuff, then yeah, things don't go well. I mean, I had to learn how to disagree with people because, like, you know, like certain people in my family, for instance, they didn't know how to disagree with people, right? So they would like resort to name calling, and then also like in my family, a thing with authority. Like everyone goes to authority. Like I'm the parent, and you're just the child, and you
Mm-hmm.
know you're the little country. I'm the big country, and
Yeah.
I was always bad with authority, and it wasn't like I'm trying to be a rebel or something like that. It was just could I identified problems and I would highlight those problems, and I would also say to them, which got me in a lot of trouble, like you're an adult, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're right all the time, and
I mean, we see this all the time. Like, look at how outrageously people we consider to be adults who should have their shit together don't. Like it's astonishing to see people who are in their 40s who, you learn like just because you got a suit and tie on
and a
doesn't mean you
degree
got it
or
together.
yeah,
Like it looks like you got it together, but like there's some shit bubbling under the surface there, my friend. And it is very obvious because like you can just like I don't know. I myself try not to be too fake. Like try not to be too fake. Oh my god. Just a little fake, okay? Just a
yeah,
little
it's just
bit.
a little fake. A little fake is good, Why
Yeah.
not? It's not
I
gonna hurt
I
you.
I mean, I try to be I want to be more natural than anything. And that I'm okay making a mistake. I'm okay with that. I don't care if anybody is like, "Yo, do this," or "Yo, this is wrong with this," or whatever. I'm okay with that kind of shit. But like just hiding behind your issues, there's something about the way someone carries himself that just becomes really apparent when they have some shit just running in the background. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There's like a second hard drive back there, like a ghost hard drive in your brain, and it's just like running, and you're trying to figure out where the signal is coming from, and you can't figure it out, and you're like, ah, fuck it, whatever, I'll just leave it for 30 years, and then all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you're having a heart attack, and then you're dying in your deathbed, and you're like, oh my god, I regret all this shit. Why am I learning all this now? Well, because your life is coming to an end, and you feel forced to instead of just like facing the monsters on your own and
Yeah.
facing the shit. Like, there's nobody that's immune to this kind of shit. There's nobody that's immune to it. I mean, like, what do you got to, the first thing you got to do is contend with the fact that you're immoral. You're a mere moral.
Mhm.
Not a moral, mortal. I can't even talk.
I knew what you meant. I knew what you
Yeah,
meant.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was, yeah, you know what I mean. I get you. Yeah, no, but yeah, we all are mortal, and we all just have to work through this stuff. But a lot of people, they don't. I don't know. Again, I just think they're lazy thinkers. They're lazy when it comes to like
It's
stuff.
not cool. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
cool,
not.
Eric. It's way cooler to have problems and be like Batman and just have this like constant darkness following you. Like, buddy, you're gonna have darkness your whole fucking life, okay? Trust
Yeah,
me, it ain't going away. Like, if you want to
yeah,
cooperate and you want to get along with people and you actually want to like add fulfillment to your life and get something out of the people who are around you, you have to like build and develop that stuff. And like it sounds really cheesy, and especially these like young kids, I don't think they really understand the value of that. I don't know really. I'm just taking a guess. I mean, I haven't any of the young kid relationships that I've been privy to, meaning like seeing how 16-year-old kids converse and shit, like it seems pretty shallow anyways. You're 16, what do you know? Typically
yeah,
16-year-olds aren't really that experienced in life, but like it's hard to tell. I mean, like these girls in high school look older now. I really can't tell. I can't
yeah.
tell anymore. Like they just wear so much makeup. They like some of these girls look older than me. Some of these boys look older than me. They're big and tall.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
I can't tell anymore. I
Yeah,
have no
I really
idea.
can't tell. Yeah, I remember one time I assumed this guy was around my age, and he was like, oh no, I'm still in high school. I was like, what?
Hmm.
Like, what in the world? You know, I have a thing where if I do like if like for instance a girl starts talking to me and I see that she's like flirting, I'm really bad at detecting when girls flirt with me. I'm so
Yeah.
like I assume all the time that they're just being nice. So like there are times where girls would be like, "Oh well, I was flirting with you, but you were probably with someone at that time." And blah blah blah. I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't know you were flirting with me. I'm sorry. Like I thought you were
Yeah.
just being nice." But anyway, I have to ask them for ID. Like what age are you?
Hmm.
Because you just never ever know. Like
No.
ever. Yeah, I mean, because my brother and I, we went to the Watch the Throne concert, Jay-Z and Kanye, like I
Yeah.
forgot, like 3 or 4 years ago, and these girls came up to us, and one of them looked like around my age, and the other one she looked kind of young, but the one around
Mm.
my age like asked for my phone number, and I I asked her, like, how old are you? And she was like 16, and I was like, oh, I was like, no, 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 no. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm too old for you. And then she was
Hmm.
like, oh, but she tried to pull that age is just a number type stuff, and I was just like,
Hmm.
no, I'm sorry, I don't do that. I can't. I really can't. And then I was like, I'm sorry, and she like took it so hard too.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you just can't tell um, what people are today.
Girls are generally bad with rejection, though.
Oh yeah, I would argue. I know I won't say worse than guys, but I would argue it's very near the same. Like
Mm.
it's very similar because I've had girls like go off, and I was just like, dang, all I said was no, or I'm sorry, I can't. So I would change up how I would say no, but
Hmm.
still, it's just like some people they just can't take rejection. But I know guys are horrible too. Like, they'll leave novels and they would call you all types
Yeah.
of mean stuff.
Act
And
out and shit. Like, oh my God. There's nothing more like explosive than a man whose ego has just been destroyed or has just been like fucked with. You know what I mean? Like, some people are very attached to their ego.
yeah, 100%.
That's hard, like it's really, really hard to connect with someone who really does take every single thing or many of the things that go wrong as a personal attack.
Yeah, yeah.
As a
And
personal attack. I mean, I'm sorry, like, not who do you think you are that like every single quality about you is going to be amazing? If you think every quality about you is amazing, you are very unaware as a human being and you are not enlightened. And I'm sorry because like we all have our shit. I don't care how fucking smart you think you are. I don't care. We all have our shit. And if you think you're so managed, well, good for you. And teach me how because I would like to learn.
I would love to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
teach me because I wake up with new shit every day and I'm like, where did this come from? Oh, come on. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
always shit. There's always some new thing that brings up some weird facet of your personality that you weren't totally aware of. And you're like, all right, well, I guess there's this thing now. I don't know what I'm going to do about it, but I guess if it becomes a problem, hopefully someone will tell me. Like, that's the thing about getting better too. You have to have like feedback, you have to have constant feedback about your progress, and or at the very least what you can do better every single time. And if you don't have that, it's really hard to keep making corrections because we forget shit. Our brains are forged into patterns. We're living daily, we're doing some of the same shit daily. Those routines and such, they ferment over time, and they solidify, and then breaking out of those habits is very difficult.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. That's why it's good to, like you said, surround yourself with people who or just have diverse minds and stuff.
Mhm.
It's good to listen to different points of view. It's good to read. It's good to research. Yeah, it's just very difficult. I mean, and that's why I love science. Well, that's one of the many reasons why I love science is because science like checks your biases at the door if you're doing it
Mhm.
right. Like you can't do science and have the experiment come out the way that you want it just because the way that you want it is like favorable to you. Um, if you do an experiment, like let's say, see if the uh, universe is expanding or not. Like there have been experiments done to show that the universe is expanding right now. And not only is it
Mhm.
expanding, it's accelerating faster and faster. And no matter what your worldview is, no matter how you want that experiment to turn out, that's how it is. Like that's
Mhm.
how it's going to be until someone comes up with another experiment that shows either the opposite or something slightly different, or whatever the case may be. And that's why I love science. It just checks those biases at the door, and you're not like consumed by your personal beliefs, and you just absolutely can't like subscribe to a certain idea so much that you just become dogmatic in a way about it.
Yeah, ideas are ideas. I mean, like, people identify emotionally with their ideas way too much. You know what I mean? And oftentimes people cling to ideas because, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know what that was. There was a weird noise in the microphone.
Yeah, that's
Freaks me out. People identify so heavily with their beliefs that, like, if you try to take them away from them, or try to question them, it's like you're taking away their child or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's such an integral part of their identity, and people cling to their identity so badly.
mm,
And it's like there's so many more. Like, if your identity should be is ever changing, you're not even the same cellularly. Like, your cells replenish themselves.
yeah.
Everything replenishes itself, and like,
Yeah,
your brain
you
changes.
shouldn't want to be the same
No.
person either. You shouldn't want. I mean, because like, look at yourself from 5 years ago. If you haven't changed your mind about certain things from 5 years ago, like
Mhm.
you're really not learning anything new,
Right.
and you're not really having any meaningful experiences. So yeah, I think it's very important to be able to change and to evolve as a person and to think differently about stuff. And again, like I think it's trendy now that a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm still the same person as I always was," and blah
Mhm.
blah blah. And it's just like that's not necessarily a good thing.
And
Um,
how deluded do you have to be to think that you're the same? I mean, if you are the same person you were from 2 years ago, you haven't done shit.
yeah,
You really haven't. And maybe you're making more money. Maybe you got a different job. But I mean, there's more to, like, character building has nothing to do with how much money you make
yeah, 100
at
percent.
all. And like, I don't know. I just feel like people don't actually care about correcting their character or taking a good look at their character to see how it can be better. And like, people don't look at tough situations in life as places where that character can be built. You know what I mean? They just see it
Mhm.
as a blow to their ego as opposed to like a sculpting chisel and a hammer to like refine your character.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I mean, it's just like Michelangelo when he was making sculptures and everything. You know, you just got to chip away little by little by little by little,
Mm-hmm.
and you're constantly reinventing yourself, constantly chiseling away. I mean,
And it's
I
not
think
easy
it's yeah, it's not
because
easy.
guess what? You have to admit to yourself that you suck. That you
Yeah,
sucked in this way. And the reason you're chiseling away and chipping away at it is because look, you had an experience. That experience is that chiseling. And that experience is necessary in order for that refinement to occur. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it's
yeah,
necessary. We have to put ourselves through obstacles and we have to learn to see obstacles as something that is a positive experience and a positive thing for our character. Otherwise, we do remain the same and people get really boring. Like I don't know about you, but I have a very very hard time with people who are not multidimensional that I can't have a conversation with about just about whatever.
mm,
Whatever. Now, why should any topic be off limits? You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah.
so boring when people are just like about one thing, like these, like if you're a fundamentalist religious person, fundamental religious person, and all you're consumed by is your religion.
I don't understand that. Like, I like breaking rules too. Like, I like meeting people and talking about politics and
Mhm.
religion and stuff like that. The first time meeting them, you know how they say, "Oh, on first dates you shouldn't talk about that type of stuff," and all of that. I like
Mhm.
breaking the rules and talking about that. I think it's very
Me too.
important, and it's good because I mean, why would you want to date someone you can't talk about that stuff with?
Totally. Anything, really.
Yeah, like you're supposed to be able to talk about that stuff with people, be it your friends, be it your partner, or
Hmm.
whomever. You're supposed to talk about that type of stuff and be open about it, and be open to learning something new or to having a disagreement and doing it in a proper way. But again, people, I just think they're lazy and they just don't want to have to go through the trouble of doing that. You know, they just want to say fine and live their lives how it is and like be mediocre. And to your point about um, like learning something new and starting somewhere and sucking at things, like I sucked when I first got into college when it came to math. Like I
Hmm.
sucked. Like it was so bad where um, I don't think, well, there was like a prerequisite or whatever for math, and I almost didn't meet it. Like
Hmm.
I sucked that bad. But you know what I did? I went to tutoring. I got tutoring. I got up to speed. Things started coming to me. It started being very fluent to me, and I'm pretty good. I could handle physics equations easily, calculate calculus based physics,
Hmm.
algebra based physics, and I could learn some of the stuff and talk to people about it. But that took a lot of work, you know. I mean, you're not going to sit in front of the piano and expect to be Beethoven like
Hmm.
in a day or even a week. You're like that takes years and years. You have to
Hmm.
put in your 10,000 plus hours in order to be
Hmm.
great at it and stuff. And a lot of people they face stuff and they just don't want to do it anymore. I mean, that's another good thing that you do is like you go to the gym and stuff, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, we're gonna die anyway." Why? I don't know why people go to the gym and work
Hmm.
out. It's like, well, I'm trying to die gracefully or die a little bit like less painfully. I'm not trying to be on tons of meds in my 30s and 40s and
But it's
stuff.
not even about that. It's like, why would you deny yourself? Like when you exercise, your brain actually releases like shit. I keep forgetting words today. Endorphins, dopamine, like when you use your muscles and you're engaging your muscle memory, that's also really good. Your brain is in a learning state. Like exercise is good for so many fucking reasons than just the losing weight aspect of it. It's excellent for your brain. And like your diet is one thing too. Like people eat like shit. They don't eat vegetables. They're eating science fair projects. They're wondering why they feel like shit. And it's like, Do you understand your body is made of the things you put in your face? And if you're not putting the right things in your mouth, what do you think your body is going to be producing the things that it needs with? All that crap. Like, why is
Yeah,
it so? I don't get why it's so difficult for people to make those connections. Like, sugar is so fucking bad. And I hate to
so
lecture
bad.
people about sugar, but the thing that people don't get is like your food affects your gut bacterial ecology. It's really important for you to have a healthy gut flora. Why? Because serotonin, which is a mood stabilizing neurotransmitter, it's produced in your stomach. It's produced in your gut. It's transferred straight from your gut through the vagus nerve and into your brain. Now your brain uses that serotonin supply to regulate everything else in itself, right? And that's
Mhm.
where your mood is produced. Your mood is produced based on the neurochemicals that are manifesting themselves based on like not only your environmental pressures, but also the things that you are providing yourself in order to sustain your survival every day. And that's not something people seem to consider. Like, you want to be in a better mood, try eating some cucumber instead of a chocolate bar. See how you feel. Yeah, you're going to have a sugar crash if you're one of these people who has sugar all the time. But like after the first few days, like people start saying like I feel like when I'm burning energy it feels cleaner. I don't feel tired after I eat something. And it's like, yeah, because your body is not meant to handle the amount of sugar that you guys are overpowering it with. Like cooked sugar is as addictive and has worse effects than cocaine over time. It's very
That's
similar. It affects
crazy.
similar parts of the brain. And like people don't even know that. It's like your
Yeah.
brain is everything. What you eat is everything. And people don't take it seriously. And then they hit like 30 and like they have a heart attack or they're like, oh fuck, like I'm having chest pain. It's like you're fucking 30 years old.
I know that's
Why
crazy.
why are you doing that? Like how are you so unhealthy?
Yeah, and it's just due to bad choices, and like you said, the brain is everything. Like that's all you. So if anything goes wrong with your brain, like everything else would break down, you know? And
Mhm.
yeah, the brain is just so important, and a lot of people don't understand how much sugar and just a bad diet period would mess up your brain. And that's why
Mhm.
exercise is important, because it's been shown that exercise improves brain health, and it really helps and improves your life. And um, yeah, I just think it's very important to live a healthy lifestyle. I mean, I used to do amateur boxing, but part of the reason why I stopped
Mhm.
boxing was because I care so much about my brain. Like I
Mhm.
one of my things when I was
Yeah.
boxing was I prided myself on my defense. I didn't get hit a lot. Like I hate getting hit. Like there are
Mhm.
boxers that love getting hit. Like they're like, oh, I'm a warrior. I'm
Mhm.
cool. Like blah blah blah. I'm like, there's nothing cool about getting hit, bro. Like that's your brain in your head. And although believe it or not, boxing is a lot more safer than what football. Yeah, it's safer than football. It's safer than
Mhm.
a lot of these other sports that many people think boxing is not as safe as. But
Mhm.
still, a lot of these boxers they come away and they're just so like messed up from it. And you could tell like years off their life has been taken away because they took so many blows to the head. I talked to
Mhm.
trainers, I talked to old professionals, and you could tell they're not like all the way there, and yet
Mhm.
they're in their 40s, like late 40s and 50s, and it's like you're not supposed to be this way. So like just simple stuff like that made me reconsider, my path with that. I mean, I still like do the workouts, still hit the bag, but I don't like spar or
Mhm.
anything anymore. And well, I'll spar every once in a blue moon, but I really don't anymore. And yeah, but a lot of people, when it comes to like being addicted to sugar, like I really don't think some people like understand like how addictive and how bad sugar is. Like sugar
Mhm.
is horrible, and I'm talking about, of course, like refined, like white sugar, like that is
Mhm.
horrible. But like the natural sugars that you find, like say in bananas, they're good,
Mhm.
and other fruits and vegetables, like they're good. But of course, too much of anything is bad for you. But
Yeah.
but yeah, white sugar is just horrible to have, and some people just take it just to the head. They go all the way in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about balance, and balance seems to be the most difficult goal to attain in life because it's not there's Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. There's always an amount of uncertainty in your day that you can't control, for which you're gonna have to switch everything around if it does occur. And like
Hmm.
the easiest thing to do is just to prepare, get into a routine. I think I truly believe people would feel better if they ate better, because I used to be overweight and I used to eat very poorly and I was very unhealthy, and I've changed my life a lot and my lifestyle and the things that I eat and put in my body. Like, it matters. It really, really matters.
Yeah,
And
it
you can't
does.
stress it enough. And unless people feel it and actually experience that on their own, it's really hard to convince them. Even though the science is in and everything is in, it's really hard to convince people that something is good for them. If they do not want to do it, they're not going to do it,
Yeah, they're not. They're
you
really
know?
not. Yeah, and it takes people like their partner, like the person they're in a relationship with, or a close friend, to kind of introduce them to the idea. And that's why I think as friends we should introduce these ideas to people, because some people they just have no like support when it comes to that. So
Mhm.
I mean, even if they did decide to do it, it's like, who else do they go to for support in
Mhm.
doing it? Because it feels a lot better whenever you have someone to go to the gym with you. It feels a lot better when someone is doing the same diet as you. It
That's
feels a
so
lot.
funny. I hate it. Like,
Oh, you do?
typically, the only person that I would actually be able to like go to the gym with is a significant other, because when I go to the gym, I really like to work out. I actually like to focus.
Mhm.
I like to put my phone away. I like to pump weights hard, you know what I mean? As hard as I can go. And like, you need to be able to do that shit without being distracted. Like, again, you have to put the phone away. You just got to do some things. You really got to put your mind into some things. And like, I always feel the best when my phone's been away. I have my music blaring and like I've gotten through a 90-minute workout and I haven't even paid attention to what's happening around me. And like, I'm about to walk out and I can barely walk because I know I ripped my legs apart and whatever. Like, it feels so like, if it's so much better to be the person who's controlling the kind of stress you're putting your body through than to be the person who's always like stressed out because of things they can't control. Like, I find that working out and willingly putting that kind of stress on your body that in the long term is actually better for you helps ameliorate the effects of stresses that come in life. Like the daily grind shit, like sometimes it gets tiring waking up every day and doing the same shit over and over again. But if you go to the gym and you put yourself through stress, like that stress signal that comes is like, okay, well, you know what? The rest of the day isn't as hard as how hard I pushed myself at the gym and like stressed myself out. But it's so much better to choose your own stresses and like expose yourself to things that are difficult. And then like you can manage all the stupid shit you would think was difficult that isn't really that difficult at all, because you have all this abundant energy laying inside you, waiting to jump to and react to the next bout of stress that's coming in your life.
Yeah, yeah, and you put that beautifully. I mean, um, the amount of stress that you put yourself through a workout, and then that's another thing. Like when you put yourself through stress during a workout, like it's so beneficial to you, and you feel satisfied. Versus like when you can't control the stress that comes from you not taking care of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that feels horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just think about how many times that you're like, I don't know if I want to go to the gym today, and then
Mm-hmm.
you go and then you're like, I'm happy I went. Like I feel good. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sore and I can barely walk, and my legs and arms are trembling, but at the same time, like I feel really good because I did that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wish a lot of people like understood that. I mean, one of the trends that I'm happy that's trendy right now and that a lot of people are adapting is the fitness thing. Like how there's like tons of fitness models and stuff, and
Yeah.
people are getting on that. Like I'm really happy that's becoming a thing. To look healthy and or to just to have a balanced like lifestyle when it comes to eating and um, working out, because
Mhm.
like that's very helpful. So I'm really happy that's the trendy thing to do, and a lot of people are um, doing that. But it's strange to me when people go to the gym just to talk. Like they
Oh
gather
God.
around and they're just
Go
talking about
home.
stuff. Yeah, it's like, why are you there? Like, what are you doing? Like, I would understand if they're talking while they're working out and doing it. But I mean, but if you're really working out, you can't talk.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you just can't. But like, if maybe you were trying, they're doing the same machine or something, and
Mhm.
you were talking about something, I would kind of understand it. But like you, I like going with people who I know are going to work out.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise,
Yeah,
I'd rather not because
yeah,
I'm a very talkative person as it is. I talk a lot. If
yeah,
this almost 4 hour stream has not given you that clue, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I can carry on a conversation for quite some time. Sometimes you really like, my issue
Likewise,
is I need to be able to focus my attention for a little bit of time on something, and I have a very difficult time with that as it is. I'm easily
me too.
distracted. Yeah, I'm easily distracted. It's not even necessarily by my phone. It'll be like, oh my God, I feel like surfing the web. I'm going to watch a documentary. I'm 15 minutes in the documentary. Okay, I feel like reading now. I'll get up and I'll go read for like 15
Oh,
minutes.
you
I'm like,
sound
okay,
just like me. You
yeah, like
sound
I
just
need
like
to
me.
get up and do something different every 15 minutes. And like, obviously that's how my brain works, but I need to force that out of that. Like at least an hour of focused attention is important. Like Sam Harris said in his podcast, boredom is just the inability to focus your attention.
Yep, yep, yeah, and then that's really like the root of our problems when it comes to mastering things.
Hmm.
I think great geniuses and just people who achieve great things, the reason why they were great is not because they were born with these abilities that absolutely no one has.
Hmm.
They achieve these great things because they were able to focus for a long period of time on a certain small set of things, and they became very great at it and better than anyone else because they focused so much on it. It wasn't
Hmm.
because, again, because they were just born that way. They just focused, and
Hmm.
we have to learn how to focus. And I'm starting to learn how to do that. Like, I would write down certain times, like, let me do this for 15 minutes. I'll rest for 5-10 minutes, and then I'll get back to it for 15 minutes. I'll experiment with ways of doing things like that. But it's very difficult to me because I could be reading a book and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go. I have another book that's about
Hmm.
this certain thing in this chapter, and then oh, I remember a lecture being on this, and let me see if there's any other thing on this, and oh, the blah, blah, and I just go everywhere with it, and then of course, me checking my phone in between that time and doing this or doing that, so it
Hmm.
just gets very difficult. But yeah, I think I really need work when it comes to focusing.
Yep, that's definitely one of my problems, and I keep trying to refine that process. So I like
Yeah,
learning too, though. You know what I mean? Like the last few days, when I go to the gym, I'll listen to music when I'm on the treadmill, but I'll get my friend Brian to call me, and I'm like, hey, let's go to like the last couple times we've talked on the phone. It's like, hey, let's go down the Wikipedia rabbit hole. Let's let's
Wikipedia
Wikipedia,
rabbit
yeah, let's Wikipedia George Washington, and then we'll go from there and see where it leads us. Like, we ended up
hole.
like reading about prohibition, the Great Depression, and like a bunch of shit. So I like doing that too, but like today I was like, I really want to listen to some music. Like it's been a while since I've just like listened to music. So I did that. I'm like, I'm getting off the phone and I'm listening to music today because that's what I want to do. Like
That's
I
really
change my
cool.
mind all the time about stuff and what I want to do. And it's just
Yeah,
that we're so used to being able to have access to the things that we want when we want them that like I don't want to live like that. I want to be able to say no to myself. Like, no, just finish doing this for another 15 minutes. Just give it a little bit more time. No,
yeah,
give it
yeah.
another 15 minutes.
And it
Like
starts
get.
with small habits too. And then also,
Mhm.
I think we need to maybe like set a day where we're just like, I'm not gonna do the things that I want to do immediately. I'm
Mhm.
gonna do simple stuff. You know, have you ever read the book The Power of Habit?
No, I haven't. There's on my
Oh,
list.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That book is really good, and it just talks about someone who had dementia, and he would do something every day, like a routine every day, and he
Mm-hmm.
remembered it because he did it every day, no matter how
Mm-hmm.
small it was. And that's just how the brain works. Like
Yeah.
we we have to start small. If you want to work up to those big habits, you have to take those baby steps in order to get there. And we could all get there if we work hard enough. But again, we just have to repeat it. It has to be a
You just use the
repetitive process.
evolutionary model, right? You tinker a little at a time.
Hmm.
That's all you're doing. Like, all you need to do is one step at a time, do that for a while. And then when you feel comfortable, do the next thing. Push yourself a little bit harder next time. Like, it's all about, it's not even really strategic. It's just like you just need to think about it a little bit. You just need to give yourself time to consider the variables you have to work with and set them up in a way that's going to be helpful for you to like achieve a goal. Like, if you don't have goals, you're not happy. If you're not achieving anything, even on a personal level, it's really hard to be happy. I don't get people who are doing nothing who are happy. And
Yeah,
where's all
yeah,
that energy going? Like, I don't get people who are sitting at the computer all day. I mean, I'm not talking for work. I mean, like, just sitting and like, they're spending all day on Twitter. They're spending all day on social media. Like, I don't know how people do that. Like, it just zaps your will.
yeah,
Your resources are finite, and you're squandering so much of your time sitting here looking at retards posting shit on social media. Not everybody you're following has something smart to say.
yeah. Like you're not going to learn something from everyone. And
Exactly.
yeah, and the thing about social media too is kind of like it's kind of like going through like a time machine or something, because like
Mm,
you're on there and then you look up and 2 hours have passed and you're like, oh shoot, like I was on here
mm,
for like 2 hours looking up stuff and doing this or doing that, or
mm,
1 hour or even 30 minutes, and it's just like, wow, like I need to get away from this.
mm.
And then I actively put my phone somewhere like far from me so I can't check it or anything. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, but I think more people need to be more mindful about that type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm no longer going to be putting my phone near my pillow. I
Yeah,
think I'm gonna try and do that, like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad. I think one of the best decisions I ever made was turning off all the notifications on my phone. I like to check my phone when I feel like checking it. I don't like feeling obligated. If it's this is what I'm trying to force my friends to do now. Like, they don't know it. I haven't said it outright, but if you're at a point where you really need to get a hold of me, my phone rings. Call me.
I love that. I really, really love that.
I like the personal contact. I like being able to hear you. Like, I'm not going to get to see your face because all my friends live scattered across the United States.
Mhm.
Like the 5 or 6 of you that I really enjoy talking to, you're not near me. I don't get to see your face. So, if you need to get a hold of me, I'd love it if you called. Like that, there's something to that for me. Being able to hear your voice, being able to have a conversation with you. Like there's an aspect of fulfillment that is not available through text message and digital communication. It just doesn't do it. It's
Yeah,
not natural, and we're adapting to like this unnatural method of communication, which is actually really handicapping us to be able to maneuver through social situations better.
yeah,
We're not gaining the skill sets necessary to cope with socially stressful situations. That Simon Sinek said that in that video. We're not gaining those skill sets to be able to deal with awkward social situations or situations that make us uncomfortable, because we're not exposing ourselves to that. We're exposing ourselves to like this fake world of social media and like everybody putting their best foot forward and wanting to portray themselves a certain way. And well, things aren't this way, and then we all believe that they are this way, and then we're depressed because we're not having as much fun as it looks like this person's having with their fucking filters on their photos. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just so much. Like, we're just convoluting our lives.
yeah, constantly. And
Mm-hmm.
that is, I don't know. Um, he said a lot in there that I really like, but I don't know. I just wish that people were just more mindful about the things that they did. Didn't worry about who they're doing it for. Just did it for themselves. And I just think more. It would, like, more people would be happy. But again, like, we have to blame like the parents for this, because they kind of coddled their children their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So because they held their hand through every situation, I think a lot of people, they don't know how to deal with certain things
Dude, two
because,
words: participation trophies.
oh my, I hate those. And the thing is, like, I noticed this when I was like growing up. Like, like for instance, one of my friends will win something,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone gets a participation trophy type thing for it. Like, it's all right, everyone's a winner. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, there's some people who are better than others at things, and I'm sorry, but they deserve
No, some people
certain.
are fucking losers. I'm sorry,
That
but there's
too, yeah,
no winner without the concept loser. And this is like
yeah.
something Alan Watts said. You can't have one without the other. Do you want to increase your capacity for pleasure? Well, guess what? You have to increase your capacity for pain too.
Hmm.
Like you can't have one without the other. And the more you
Yeah.
try to get one, the more you're going to create of the other without even knowing it because there is an equal and opposite reaction to everything you freaking do.
Yeah, Newton's laws. So,
Exactly. Like that
yeah,
applies to more than just one thing. I mean, it's like feelings, all these things that we are, like it's still a transference of energy, right?
yeah.
There's some sort of energy interplay happening between human beings. That's why like I don't think it's that pseudoscientific to say like, you know, when you say you're getting bad vibes off someone, that's like the instinct that you have based on whatever chemical interaction is happening and whatever subconscious mechanism that's at play that you're not aware of that is
Yeah,
making judgments on your behalf.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Right, like you're not designed to be completely conscious of the things that are dangerous to you, but if there's something in your system or in your brain that is recognizing a potential threat, it's going to alert your brain to that and you're going to be a little bit more conscious of that particular thing. Like we are geared towards we're geared towards finding threats. We're not geared towards finding positive things. We're geared towards negativity because we want to avoid those things because
So
those
we
are
could survive.
dangerous. Exactly, because they're detrimental to our survival if we don't. So we have to pay attention to the negative shit. The problem is we get carried away with the negative shit, you know?
Way too carried away.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we don't deal with that shit properly. Like, I mean, we should, again, I think a lot of this has to do with communication. I feel like it will be a lot easier for people to, and then we would have a lot less stress in our lives if we could just straight up communicate. And like, I'm not even saying that I'm an excellent communicator. You know what I
You
mean?
are. I'm
Especially,
just I'm just throwing that out there. You're a great communicator.
well, thanks. It's you know how it is when there's like emotion involved. It gets really difficult because you're not only are you saying things from a place that is irrational, but you're also when someone's saying things to you and you're in a certain emotional state, you're filtering whatever the other person is saying to you through that emotional state. And we don't give that concept enough credit. Like emotion and cognition are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other. People who have their emotional centers fucked up in their brain have a very difficult time making decisions because we use our intuitions to do that. It's not just like a logical decision. It's like, how do I feel about vanilla or chocolate ice cream? You're going to have a proclivity to one or the other based on some experience you've had tied into your emotions. Everything is emotions. Like that reaction to a stimulus is an emotional reaction. Maybe not to the degree we understand emotions because we think emotions are just sadness and blah blah blah, but there's an emotive response to stimuli when it occurs in the environment. And that's what helps your brain discern like, okay, is this a sad, is this a freaking out kind of environment? Is this a should I get angry? Is this a should I release adrenaline? Like it has to decipher based on that emotional signal, that reading, what to produce, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then all that stuff is complicated, but a lot of people they make it, they think it's so simple, and they
Mhm.
think the way to avoid all of that again is to be cold hearted, to not think about that type of stuff. So they make it harder on themselves when they do that.
Mhm.
But I just wish people were as thoughtful as you, and to like truly try to understand the psychology and the neuroscience that backs what you're saying up.
Yeah.
Because again, like with that knowledge, it makes you feel better that you know what's going on there, or at least you have some type of idea of it.
Yeah, but it's still hard, because like even though I read and even though I do have some sort of basic, very basic understanding of some like neurological concepts, there's still the idea that I can't keep this shit going every single time, and I'm still gonna react in a human way to something when I'm like, say, in the middle of my day, I'm doing the grind, I don't have time to think about what I'm learning, and then I'm just gonna react because like that's kind of how life is, right? Life is gonna keep going. You don't always have the even though you've read about something, at the time that something occurs in which you could display that aptitude of information that you have or the information you've acquired, it's hard because you've already emotionally reacted and your brain's not going to be like, oh shit, what did I read on like this day about this thing? I need to control it. Like the emotional reaction happens first,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah, it's a
it's
human thing.
challenging. It takes a while. It takes a while of doing something wrong for a bit. And like again, like I said earlier, you need someone who can provide you with feedback in a way that you can use it to actually improve yourself and not get bogged down by the fact that like you're messing up. And there's an interplay between whoever you're talking to and yourself that if you want someone to get better, like there are ways you have to communicate with them. You know what I mean? Like we have to be careful how we say things. We're very sensitive to like tones and cadences, and if someone presents an idea to us in a tone we don't like, this is a Nietzsche quote. If so we find we find fault in messages and ideas simply because of the tone of voice in which they were conveyed. That's
Yeah,
paraphrasing, but you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it
yeah.
do, what happens is like it doesn't matter what the message is because the tone perturbed an emotion in you that was negative. Now you're going to discard the entire message.
Yeah. Tone policing.
Right? Like
Yeah,
I mean, what are you supposed to do in these situations because it's like
I mean,
sometimes you need to hear things straight and in a rough tone. You can't have everybody be like, "Oh, it's okay," Like, no, you're being a fucking idiot. Get it together. It's true. Sometimes you need to
it
hear
is
it.
true. It is true, and I try to like when I'm communicating science, I and someone disagrees with something. Like for instance, I had a friend. I actually didn't know this, but he was a flat earther.
Oh
Like he
yeah.
believed the Earth is flat, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, explain to me why you think the Earth is flat. And his whole argument was, well, basically, what we can see from our eyes is this, so therefore, flat Earth.
Mhm.
And I had explained to him how that it's you can't really trust your eyes because what you see at the horizon, like very far away, is not actually what's there. It's
Mhm.
it's light refracting off the atmosphere, and you're
Mhm.
seeing other things based off how light reacts to the atmosphere and stuff.
Mhm.
Refraction happens, the reflection of what you see. Um, and just many other processes that happen, and you can't trust your eyes all the time.
Mhm.
And then he was like, I'll really think about that, but yeah, I just can't trust NASA and this, that, and the third. I was just like, oh well, that's it sounds like a personal problem to me, but
That is a personal problem. Dude, there was a recent Joe Rogan experience with Eddie Bravo
oh my
and Brendan
goodness, I
Schaub. Did
listened
you
to
listen
that.
to that? Oh my God, I couldn't believe Eddie
Yes,
Bravo. I was cringing so hard. I was like, dude, the only reason it made it easy is because he's like, I don't know, man. I'm
I
fucking
don't know.
crazy. I'm crazy. I was like, oh my God, no shit, Bravo. You are crazy. Like, are you really
Oh
sitting
my
here saying like
goodness.
NASA fit? They're all composites and CGI. Like, do you know how long that would take? Like that would
Yeah,
take a very
yeah.
long ass time. How
And
can you even think? Like,
and the thing is, like, there's a small truth to that because, like, for instance, with NASA photos, like, yes, a lot of the photos they're put together in a way because they take snapshots. There's tons of
yeah, and then
snapshots,
they
just
piece
like
them all
yeah,
together.
they piece them all together, but that doesn't mean that they're fake. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't get that. And then also, after they're done piecing them together, sometimes they do brighten the photos or Photoshop the photos so it can bring out the features of Earth, the certain
Hmm.
features that they're trying to bring out, make it look better and more appealing, whatever. So
Hmm.
yes, they are Photoshopped to some degree, but they're not Photoshopped like as in none of these pictures. are what Earth actually looks like. Like no,
Mm-hmm.
like this is what Earth looks like. It's just they're pieced together, and the features were brought out by certain effects and Photoshop, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're fake. And then
Mm-hmm.
as what's funny is they're always picking on NASA. Like they're always picking on NASA. Do they know that there are tons of other space agencies and in countries where we're like in competition with, like Russia? Like why would Russia be in agreement with NASA of holding all these secrets and not exposing this quote unquote fake Earth? I mean, flat Earth. Like, why would they or anyone for that matter keep this secret? Like, what do they gain out of it? They
I don't
don't gain
know.
anything out of it.
It's like how people were like, or like there was a conspiracy that the moon landings were fake. Like
Oh
that would
my
be a
gosh, that's the
really
worst.
intense thing to lie about. Like people gossip, okay? People are not fucking trustworthy. I'm sorry. It would be very difficult to keep it under wraps if the moon landings weren't real.
Yeah, I mean, we literally, like, there were people who watched the rocket go up and
Yeah.
didn't come down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, something had to happen there.
Hmm.
I really think a lot of these people, they just never witnessed the rocket launch or maybe never saw footage of it, or they see footage of it and they see the rocket, like, because if you watch a rocket launch, it doesn't just go straight up, like, it
Hmm.
curves and it
Hmm.
curves to the spin of the earth. Like
Hmm.
that's just how it is. Like, it's not going to go straight up. Like
Hmm.
it's not how it works. But a lot of people they don't know that. They don't see like why that happens and all this other stuff. So they kind
Hmm.
of form their own um, hypotheses based off their their ignorance.
Hmm.
And instead of just asking questions to people that might know it or that have that level of expertise to explain everything, they just choose to come
Scientists are
up.
globalist shills, don't you know?
Yeah. They're all in on this thing, no matter how underpaid they are or how little they're being paid or underfunded for their research. Yeah, they're shills, and that's just the end of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Eric, I'm going to try and get a couple hours of sleep because I'm going to be up in a couple hours to do
Oh
this again.
goodness, yeah. You need to get to sleep.
Yeah, we
But
talked for like 4 hours. Not that
yeah, it,
that's
it
surprising.
was awesome, and we need to do this again one of these days. So,
We will.
um,
We
yeah.
definitely will. I definitely want to pick your brain some more, and maybe we can. More shit will keep happening, and we'll have lots to talk about.
Oh yeah, lots to talk about. Yeah, because
Yeah.
again, I think you're gonna post some stuff that I'm gonna be like, oh, I need to see that. And you're gonna send me things. I'm gonna be like, oh, I want to talk about that, and I'm gonna post some things, and you're probably
Yeah,
gonna
don't
want to
you
talk
please
about it.
share whatever you want with me. I'm always like trying to look for new shit and
Yeah,
you need to expand your brain a little bit and try look at things you wouldn't know of and friends are great resources for things that you don't know about.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely do that. I'll remember to send you stuff because I really thought I sent you that Gary Vaynerchuk thing, but I
Mhm.
guess I didn't. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure to send you things. Be
I
it.
think you were looking it up yesterday and then remember the phone disconnected all of a sudden?
Oh yeah, it might have been what it
And
was.
then I called you right back and we just continued the conversation like immediately where we left off from the disconnection. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna go with this because this is great. Like, don't even have to worry about it. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, what happened? I don't know. The phone disconnected. Oh, okay. Anyway, so blah 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 blah.
I loved how we did
Yes,
that.
I know. That
Yeah,
was great. Like it was
that
such
was
a great
great.
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you have a great night.
All right, you too.
Thank you for your time today. Your 4 hours.
No,
Four
thank you for
hours,
your
man.
time. Thank you
Yeah,
for
no
your time.
problem.
Thank you for doing this, and I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk to you next time.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, have a good night, Eric.
All right, you too. Bye
Bye.
bye.